in New Orleans. They cool the rising sun. And it's been the ruin of many a poor boy. And God, I know I'm one. My mother was a tailor. She sold my new blue jeans. My father was a gambling man down in New Orleans.
Warning: this podcast features adult subject matter, adult language, and things not meant for children to hear. Viewer discretion is advised. You've been warned. And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to the latest episode of the I'm No Joe podcast here, your home for all things punchy kicky. And tonight, like most nights, we have got a beautiful group of weirdos here to talk some shenaniganry shit and fight fuckery with you wonderful folks. So thank you to everyone who is out there watching live. I appreciate each and every one of you. And thank you to everyone who catches this on a replay. I appreciate you guys, even if you're not able to be here with us live. So before we get too far into it here, let's go around the room and introduce this wonderful group of beautiful bastards here to talk some shit with me this evening. First and foremost, a rarity these days, the kid from the Lou himself. We've got Alan back on board, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing, brother?
I'm well. Thank you for having me, as always. It's always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Always glad to have you here, brother. And then across the plate from him, we have got the very freshest guest you could ever ask for, Mr. Fresh03. How are you doing this evening, good sir? With the kitty.
I got a cat climbing all over me. Somebody help! Somebody help! She says, "You want to see the real soldier of God? I'll show you."
See you soon, baby. Oh, good times, good times. Across the plate from Mr. Fresh03, we have got the Fishtown legend himself, Mr. Nick Devine. How are you doing, sir?
What's up, everybody? I'm not wearing hockey pants.
Ooh, snap. Somebody's getting fresh early. And then across the octagon, as it were, from me, as is most weeks here, my Wednesday night brother from another mother, my combat talk compatriot, the one and only Golf T Vapes himself. How you doing, TJ?
I'm fucking excited this weekend, looking fucking fantastic.
Oh, we have got some niceness.
While we're here, shout out to my neighbor who lives just down the street because he's watching with us tonight.
Fucking A. Shout out to the neighbor.
Hello,
Thank
Mike.
you for tuning in. What's up, Mike?
Hi, Mike.
I'll be sure to embarrass you as much as I can.
Right?
His neighbor lives
Yeah,
down
right.
the street I could throw a rock at my neighbor's house. He's got to walk like 5 minutes to his neighbor's house.
Oh, good shit. So, as we like to do around here, before I get too deep into it, as has been told to me by folks smarter than myself, before we dive into the shenaniganry, I should tell you fine folks where you can find some more of our bullshit if this type of thing is your cup of tea. So basically, we are everywhere on social media as I'm No Joe. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Patreon / I'm No Joe for all your behind the scenes goodies if you want to help support the show. And for those of you who get easily distracted by Instagram influencer level faces, we also produce this podcast in all audio form over on anchor.fm / I'm No Joe. Now, with that out of the way, let's dive right into it like we do around here. First and foremost, we're going to get into the news and recent events, the goings-on, the fights that have been announced, the shit that has popped off since the last time we spoke with you fine folks. First and foremost, a very interesting matchup has been announced just yesterday afternoon for the UFC 249, the next pay-per-view card coming up on April 18th. They are going to put Islam Makhachev against Alex Hernandez. And I think that's an interesting fit because Hernandez hasn't quite been able to get his footing, and on the other side of that, Makhachev has been steamrolling through that division, so I think that's going to be a pretty fair gauge to see where both of those two really stand. And on an already decent 249 card.
Just saying, I'm excited to see what Makhachev does. That dude can wrestle, man.
Yeah,
he comes from that Dagestani line of fucking wrestlers. But to be honest, he swings more than the rest of them guys. Like, it's kind of strange to see.
Absolutely. And then you've got Hernandez, who was supposed to be... Yeah, and then Hernandez was supposed to be the wrestler and then has been gotten worked by good strikers. So what happens when he comes up a guy who can wrestle as good, maybe better than him, and can strike? But from there, we will talk about... Oh, I laugh just looking down at it, and I hope you will understand why this is as funny to me. We got word early this week that Colby Glassjaw Covington himself, Mr. MAGA Moron, has officially called out 50 Cent for a charity boxing event and is willing to put up $1 million of his own supposed dollars to the winner's charity of choice that he can handle the man from Inda Club. I mean, aside from everything else, there is something to be said about a man who just got his jaw broken weeks ago by being punched, talking shit about a gentleman who has been shot multiple times and is still here, still talking shit. For whatever you want to say about 50 Cent, aside from that, the dude had bullets put in him and is still alive, kicking and talking shit. So it's going to take more than a guy wearing a fucking red hat and a jaw wired shut for the next 6 weeks anyway to really intimidate or really kind of draw the crowd he thinks this is going to bring, I believe.
Well, I mean, you got to give it to Kobe. I mean, he just keeps rolling. Keep rolling with it.
Yeah, he's staying very much in character. That's true.
Yeah, I'm calling it right now, though. Murder.
Right. Oh.
Yeah,
Some people's
strike while
kids.
the iron's hot. That's what he's doing. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
some people's kids, you know. What are you going to do?
I mean, if you're playing a character like this, like, you cannot let the spotlight get off you very long.
Yeah, you can't fade out at all. I agree.
Otherwise, every time you come back, people are just like, this bullshit's still around. So you gotta keep people's attention. I get it. I get it, man.
You like Kobe? Kobe
No.
Covington? Nah, he's a dick.
Right.
You heard he's gonna fight. You heard he's gonna fight Fitty.
Right? No shit. Yeah, it definitely it put his name back into the headlines at least for a minute, anyways.
Yeah, and I mean, I get it. You're playing your role. Go for it, man.
Right.
I respect your game. I respect your game. I may not like you much. I respect it.
Right. Yeah, he's definitely staying true.
If he really wanted to give the charity, why doesn't he just give it a fucking charity? Doesn't make a big stink about it. Take your $1 million, give it to charity, because God knows 50 can't box anyways. So why the fuck would you even do it? That's stupid.
Yep. I agree. So from there, we're going to move to a little bit different, very disappointing news, to be frank here. After the weight miss from Davison Figueiredo before last week's UFC Norfolk card, negating him from being able to win the 125-pound belt, even though the fight was still on and he only missed by 2.5 pounds, he still went to win the fight. Reebok, we have learned this week, decided to cut his endorsement bonus from $30,000 a fight to $5,000 per fight, even though he is likely going to be fighting again very shortly for the belt again, and may very well be the champion and face of that division. Reebok has decided that his first weight cut in his professional career of 18 fights literally cost him almost his entire Reebok endorsement money.
I say I back that. I back that 100%, bro. You're a professional fighter fighting for a title, and you can't fucking make weight. You've done this how many times before?
Under normal circumstances, I would 100% agree. Under this set of circumstances where he was sick,
don't try.
No. He was making the weight cut. He was on weight, got sick, and was pulled off the cut by his nutritionalist because they thought he had a stomach virus, and then ended up missing by the exact amount, maybe less than the amount he would have cut in that day had he not been ill.
He should have pulled from the fight entirely. He should have.
Why, for missing 2 pounds? For 2 pounds?
No, if his doctors thinks his health isn't that much of a concern, he shouldn't be fighting.
Well, it was the issue of the weight cut, not his health. So it balanced.
Well, how is that? How is the weight cut not part of his health?
Because it was a temporary induced situation.
So my question is this: what's the precedent with this? Like, how often do they do this to people?
Yeah,
not very. Not
yeah,
like
no.
this.
This is one of those things that Reebok doesn't generally do to begin with, and then to do it to a guy who literally had it happen his first time in almost 20 pro fights on a medical condition.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
They're setting the standard. Sorry, guys.
Yeah,
you're good.
It's a weird one to start on for sure. Like that, because it happens. What I mean, somebody misses weight. What would you say? Once every 2 cards, probably. Somebody misses weight.
We've had somebody miss weight every card.
I mean, there was only the last 6 months. I would say there has been 1 card of the last 16 months where everybody made weight.
Yeah.
All right. Here's the key for this one. He misses weight 1 time. All right. Whether he had a stomach virus or not, I don't give a fuck. You knew you were coming in for the belt. You could have cut 2 pounds the fucking night before. You could have stayed in the sauna the extra 2 fucking things. If they're going to pull you off a weight cut for a day or 2, you still could have made it. Be a consummate professional. Reebok fucked up here. However, this does show something else, though, about the way that the UFC is leaning towards Reebok as well. They're trying to do away with that 125-pound division. Now that fucking DJ's gone and they don't have somebody to sit and rein it, because God knows he didn't lose that fight with Cejudo. He won.
No, yeah, absolutely.
So it was a terrible fucking call. But hey, whatever. I'm not a judge. We've seen a lot of bad calls lately.
Yep.
But this is that. Oh, yeah, that was literally. We're not going to get into that because I'm still pissed at that fucking thing.
we could still do a whole episode on that fucking fight alone.
Yeah,
that was a glorious fight.
It's definitely them trying to weed out the 125. And if Reebok's going to say, "Well, you can't make weight, we're not going to pay you," you're going to see a big exodus of fighters who, because you know what, obviously they don't mean shit to anybody. So if you're going to cut my check down to a fucking third of what it was or a quarter of what it was. Fuck you. I'm going to Bellator, dude.
Yeah, because they can't wear anybody else, which is kind of fucked up. Like, I don't know if Reebok should even be involved with it, actually, now I think about it, because there is no competition. Like, it's like, I have no choice but to wear your clothes.
Yep.
So it's like, so you're going to pay me less, even though I'm doing the same exact thing as the guy that made weight with your clothes.
Yep.
It's not like I look worse. Like, I don't know if it's their place to even do that. It doesn't seem fair because he can't wear any other company's fucking shit. He still has to wear Reebok. Because think if you're the fighter getting your paycheck cut that much money, and you're like, fuck Reebok, and you still gotta fucking wear it and make
Yeah.
less money.
No, and
Yep.
that's exactly the point. That's the reason that I wanted to talk about this. Aside from the weight issue, aside from anything else, it's the fact that he doesn't have another choice here. It's not like he can come out just wearing, regular gym shorts and no fucking endorsement shirt. He has to wear the Reebok quote unquote uniform.
Well, and that's like let's go back 10 years, okay? When they all had their own sponsors, they would even sell prior to fights their own fight walkout shirts.
Yep.
That they would have designed for them or design in cohorts with whatever company, whether it was fucking Reebok, Nike, whoever. They all got their own place, and that was part of how they made their money as well, was off the sale of their walkout shirts.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how many times I've seen fucking Cain Velasquez shirts walking around, Brock Lesnar shirts walking around. There's some big names.
I was gonna say Brock
Bellator.
Lesnar's still walking around with Jimmy John's on his ass
Yeah, I mean,
in the WWE.
That's funny
So-
shit.
No, I'm saying like a lot of guys go to Bellator because they get the full sponsorship
Yeah.
money that they would like before the UFC did the Reebok.
Yeah,
deal.
we just talked about
So
that not
now-
long ago. Sergio Pettis made a fucking bold, fucking outright statement that the money that he's making over in Bellator now with his sponsors and shit is almost triple what he was making in the UFC.
Yeah, because he was probably making 80 grand a year in the UFC.
Yeah,
and the worst part of this is all the best fighters in the world know that you're going to fight the best at this very moment is going to be in the UFC.
yeah, predominantly.
You're going to have some really good competition in Bellator, but it's not all of the best that are out there right now. We know that. Still love Bellator because they put on some really good fights, but at that same point, these really good guys are eventually going to go, you know what? We can just saturate the market in Bellator, use all of our sponsorships, then UFC is going to have to be forced to cut Reebok out of the deal. However, I don't see that happening anytime soon because they're pretty good at keeping people under fucking contract in the UFC. Whether it's, I'm sure there's got to be signing bonuses and some other shit going on in order to keep them
Because
there
they have
with that low pay.
ironclad contracts, man.
Yeah, the
Oh, yeah.
independent contractor bullshit. Yeah, I'm sure.
And
Well, I mean, if you look at the pay scale, it's some of these guys and girls get $12,000. They just spent fucking, let's say, 12 weeks, and a lot of them will say, "Give me 6, 7, 8 weeks." You know what I mean? So let's say 8 weeks.
yeah, and you
You
figure
spent 8 weeks, and you made 12,000 is a lot. But then you, nutritionist,
Yeah, your
Doctor,
coaches, your gym
fucking
time.
coaches.
Yeah.
you know. So all right, so your 12 grand is now 4 grand. You can live off of 4 grand for 4 months. It's really hard.
and that's if you're not medically suspended for longer than that.
Right, exactly. And then you're
True.
not able to keep training and doing fucking classes and seminars and shit, which is how a lot of these guys make their supplemental
That's
income.
That's where supplemental income is great when you're fucking Paul Felder, fucking Muscle Farm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He reps the shit. I've used that dark matter before. That shit's legit. It's good. If that's what you're trying to do. You know what I mean? But there's no benefit for him except for he gets free product.
Yeah. No, it's a weird situation, and it's something that I want. Legitimately, I don't want to sound like that guy, but if you're a fan of this show, I don't just want to give you news. I also want to give you guys something to think about. Aside from just my opinion here, I want to give you guys the topics. That's why I do this news in recent events segment first. I want to give you guys the things that are happening that I feel that people should be listening to and thinking about on their own. I'm not just trying to tell you what I think. I'm trying to give you guys things that I think everyone that is a fan of this should be thinking about, and I think that Reebok situation is a prime example of it.
Factual information.
That's right.
Yeah.
But
Just before you keep going,
Yeah.
I actually didn't know that they made like that. Like that's a substantial amount of money when you count his win bonus, even though it was cut by 30%. Like that's a substantial amount of money. So
it
like
is.
I'm
Davis and
wondering,
Figueroa?
like
Yeah.
yeah, like how much like I would love to know like how much like I don't know like Sean O'Malley's gonna make for from Reebok this fight. Like
I'm pretty sure Sean O'Malley is going to make a lot more than 80% of that card, minus the championship fights.
We'll see.
maybe.
I don't know. Coming off of a
That's what I'm
2-year
saying.
for
Coming
you,
off
Pete
that
Hot.
suspension, yeah.
Yeah, but if his contract, if he's still on that same contract, those numbers stay the same.
I think those contracts get voided if you piss hot,
I
though.
was just gonna say, I think there's a USADA clause in the contract
You
because that's
might
one
be
of the
right.
reasons that
So he
fucking
could get paid. Not
Verdum was
great.
talking about having to renegotiate because Verdum is re-signed now, but Verdum had to renegotiate his contract because he's coming off of that suspension from pissing hot. So I think it might be a little bit less now that we've seen the Sugar Show a little warmer than it
Well,
should have been.
look how fast the whole Nate Diaz thing, where they were like, "Oh, he pissed hot." And Nate Diaz, is like,
Right.
"Fuck you, no, I didn't."
Right. Well, and we're going to get into that a little bit later too, because part of that whole situation is actually unfolding on this card too. So we'll get into that a little bit later.
Okay.
But to keep this
Sorry,
moving along
I do
here,
that, folks.
no, you're good. You're good. So
Well,
to
I
keep
know
this,
you know I know.
yeah, to keep this moving along, move along to a couple more interesting fight announcements that we've had in the last couple of days here. The first one they just announced last night. It had been kind of rumored and talked about, but it was made official last night. The May 2nd Oklahoma City UFC card has now officially been added. Ryan Hall versus Ricardo Lamas. So that's going to be a very interesting match to see how that unfolds, to see if Ryan Hall really has adapted and really tried to evolve his game more than being just the Imanari role guy. So, I mean,
I don't watch a whole lot of Ariel Helwani. Sorry
Yep.
to cut you off, neither.
you're good.
But I watch, living in Northern Virginia where I was, and watched the, say, tough competition a lot since season 1. Not so much now because it's turned into. But Ryan Hall, I was a fan instantly. I'm from Virginia. He's from Virginia. I lived in Northern Virginia. He literally lived like 30 miles away. You know what I'm saying? And on the ground, honestly, that I don't think nobody could beat him.
Yeah, he's dangerous as
Problem
fuck.
is, the guys all right, Lamas, knockout power, you know? And that interview with Helwani, Ryan Hall fucking put the whole way, everybody above him, he basically said he turned down to fight, he turned down to fight, he turned down, and Lamas was one of the ones that turned down a fight. And he's like, I'm not saying I won't fight these guys, but they have to ask to fight me. So something along those lines.
Yeah.
And I think we see the same show. Lamas is gonna try and fucking punch him. He's gonna take him down, tap him out.
I agree. I think it's going to
And
be interesting to see them
you can't-
too.
if you can't stop it, then obviously he's better than you.
Yeah. No, I think that's going to be great
Granted,
to see.
Sorry,
You're good.
I could go on for a hot minute about this, like because let's just say situation, you go to a bar to watch the fight, right? How many fucking people actually understand mixed martial arts?
Yep.
You know, you watch UFC events, people are in the clinch actually fucking working, and people are booing and shit. Same scenario, say in Japan, everybody's like, "Oh man, oh, did you see him do that?" Like grappling, like it's like you hear oohs and ahs when you see slick submissions or grappling occur. And I wish people in America could fucking appreciate the art that they're doing. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
No, I agree. I completely agree. And that's part of the reason why we do a show just like this, so that the people will know what they're seeing and what they should be tuning into to try and help get them further on, get them a better understanding as well. But the next one I want to talk about real quick here. This one I feel might be one of the most important fight announcements that we're going to talk about here. They have officially made the June 13th UFC card the first inaugural UFC Kazakhstan card, and they have announced the headliner for this card yesterday afternoon. This card will be headlined by Marlon Moraes versus Peter Yan.
That's gonna be.
That is one of the most exciting fight announcements I think we have seen so far going into this summer. That is absolutely going to set the stage for what goes on past the dumpster fire that is going to be Cejudo versus Aldo. I think this is the real important match at 135 pounds.
Not to put anything against. I can't remember his name right now. I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same that happened to Jimmy Rivera. Not so much 13-second knockout head kick, but it's going to be along. It's going to be along those lines. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think so too. I think we're going to be looking at Peter Yan making a very strong statement coming for that fucking belt. But
yep,
we'll get into that one a little more as we get closer to it. The next one I want to talk about real quick, we did have a very strange last-minute swap-up here for the next weekend's Bellator 241 card coming up on March 13th. Originally scheduled was Josh the War Master Barnett versus Ronnie Marks. We have gotten word as of yesterday, I believe it was 4:30 in the afternoon, they just came out with this. The Mohegan Sun Athletic Commission denied Josh Barnett his fight license due to a medical test failure that they would not specify what it was. Neither Bellator nor Barnett nor the Mohegan Sun Commission will release a statement saying specifically what it was. All they said was that he failed a medical test and he will not be licensed to fight at Mohegan Sun until he can pass the test that he has failed. Now, in light of that happening, as strange as it was, they have got a last-minute replacement that I feel will still make this fight next weekend be worth watching, and pretty close to the equivalent of what it was going to be. Now what we're going to see next weekend is Ronnie Marks stepping in against last-minute replacement Matt Mitrione. I feel that if you're going to make a last-minute substitution for Josh fucking Barnett, Mitrione is going to be a pretty fucking fair equivalent, I would say, even on short notice.
You're going from a meat grinder to a 5-gallon bucket of heart. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. It's and even stylistically, they're both still very similar. But man, I think that's still going to end up being a hell of a fucking fight to watch next weekend.
Well, like with Mitrione, the Fedor fight, they both put each other down. Mitrione, I maybe not all heart, but a little younger, a little more athletic, recovered fast. You know what I'm saying? It could have went the other way.
Well, and then you also have to look at what happened after that when you got Mitrione versus Kazakarian and the fucking nut shot heard around the world. And then fucking and then in the rematch he left his fucking mouthpiece at home and Kazakarian beat the fucking dog shit out of him and then turned around subsequently and got his ass beat by our man LDV the fucking Swarm, Linton Vassell, who is making his fucking claim up the damn top over there doing fucking work in Bellator. But that's neither here nor there. So, moving along from that one to another interesting fight announcement here, I think we are going to see another nice build-up to help keep the summer going for us good with some nice fights. The May 2nd Oklahoma City card is getting stacked even higher than it already was. They have just announced today that Alonzo Medfield will now be fighting Devin Clark on that card. And after the outing that we saw with Devin Clark and Daquan Townsend not too long ago, I think matching him up against Medfield, who's going to not stand and strike but give him the wrestling right back, could make this a very interesting matchup to help keep our summer going as well.
That's going to be a fun card.
Absolutely. From there, I do want to bring it down to a little bit less joyful, but still relevant and very important medical news. A couple different pieces here that we've gotten from the UFC in the last couple days. The first one that we got day before yesterday, turns out that after the controversial battle between Rose Namajunas and Jessica Andrade, when Jessica Andrade lost immediately and gave the belt to Weili Zhang, Rose Namajunas was offered the fight against Weili Zhang to take her belt back immediately, completely bypassing the Andrade situation, and turned it down because at that point she still wasn't mentally sure if she wanted to keep fighting, and she said, and I quote, "I didn't want to take the fight just because I'm good at fighting. I was only willing to take a fight when I was sure that I wanted to fight. And when that time came, Jessica was the offer in front of me." So
that's the right mentality to have.
Exactly. Just for the fucking record, despite the bullshit that Joanna has been running her fucking mouth about for the last 3 weeks or whatever, Rose had her chance to jump that fucking line and get right back to where she rightfully, I believe, should have been, and turned it down to make sure that she was in a good state before she came back, which is something that I absolutely hope more fighters take a fucking piece from and start instituting into their own fucking careers. Maybe we'll see the fight world start to get a little bit better overall if people would take that attitude a little more.
I don't know them personally. Oh, go ahead.
I think this is a win-win for this. Really, because she gets to go in and avenge a loss. She's learned, don't hold on to a fucking Kimura when you're overhead.
Right.
So you don't get dropped on your fucking noggin again. But she's definitely in the right mindset. And it was good to see her get into that. Because, look, we've been talking previously when she had the belt. We were wondering, when's her next fight? and it seemed like she just wasn't mentally stable enough. Hopefully, now that all of this shit has gone to the wayside, she's got it under control. I seen her out at the BMF ranch with Cowboy. That's some good news right there. Because if you're gonna get in the right mindset, that's the dude to have in your corner.
Fuck yeah! Plus the little movie series that they shot, it's like
Well-
they seem to be having a good time. Looking at her fucking press during the last week or so, she seems to be in a good state of mind. She's back to the Rose that we saw when she beat the shit out of Joanna both fucking times. I think
Yeah,
we're
like I was
we're in a
saying-
good place to see Rose coming back.
Mhm.
I don't know them, but I would like to say it's probably a lot of credit to Pat Barry having that outside look in,
I
been there,
guarantee
done
that,
that, you
yeah.
know.
I guarantee
being
Pat
like, hey,
Barry
babe,
was a
like,
strong influence.
That's his wife being like, hey, babe, like make sure this is what you want to do, you
Yeah.
know. And she probably sat back and fucking took like 3 days to kind of analyze, like, what do I want to do? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
And I think
fighting's not a
that's
joke.
that's the same thing
She
that
coulda
Pat
died,
Barry
you
did,
know?
though. That was the same thing Pat Barry did, though, when he walked away from MMA.
Yep.
He had more than enough offers on the table. That dude had some of the nastiest leg kicks in the entire world.
Yes.
Dude,
Dude,
his
he had
fights were fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had sequoias for fucking legs, for Christ's sakes. Dude, he was trashing people's legs. And
Was it the
when
Crow
he was
fight,
done,
right?
dude, like, him and Krokop, worst kicks in all of mixed martial arts
Oh,
ever,
fuck
period. But I think you're probably right. It definitely had a lot to do with him because he knew when to walk away, and he probably made that same statement to Rose saying, "Hey, if you're not
Why?
positive, don't do it."
They don't need this. Like, this is something
Yeah.
like, if you've ever fought or competed in wrestling, jujitsu, any physical competitive martial art or physical combat, there's something about it that like, you either fucking want it or you don't. You know what I'm saying? There's a competitive drive inside you, like a instinctive urge to be better than the person in front of you.
I agree. So moving along, there's two other little pieces of interesting medical news I want to talk about here before we get on to the last of these news and recent events here. The first one, it came out as initially just a rumor and speculation due to an interview that he did last week. He did come out and address it this week to make it known. Israel Adesanya did have a big open staph infection on his forearm as of last week. It is going away. It is noticeably getting better. He has shown it off and talked about it openly. The interesting thing to mention is that he made a point to say he did not take any antibiotics for it, so he will not have any tarnished or supplementally diminished performance this weekend due to those antibiotics, which we have seen in the past. And judging by what it looked like yesterday, it's basically gone. But if he had that during training and had to go light and had to alter his training because of that, it could still have somewhat of an outcome on the fight this weekend. I mean, we're only gonna be able to tell once we get in there and watch it, but it is something that everybody should keep in mind here because that is a factor more so than it gets talked about, I believe.
I'll tell you now, he didn't train light. They wrapped that shit up, put some plastic over it, and they wrapped it again, and he went full speed. I've wrestled with guys with staph infections. You take the precautions you want to do. Obviously, if he has training partners that don't want nothing to do with it, they're not going to help. You know what I'm saying? But most guys, that's your bro. I don't fucking care. I'll do it. You know what I'm saying?
And here's the thing with that is he even made statements in some of his press conferences. A little cut on my elbow ain't gonna stop me. So I really highly doubt that this is gonna have any effect on the way he fights. Not a single bit.
Even during the fight, watch that if it's past the infectious stage, obviously,
Right.
they're gonna cover it up, put some kind of clear bandage or some shit on it, and have like a tape, like you would like a gunshot wound or something. You know what I'm saying? And that's gonna be it.
We'll see. It is definitely something that it does have to be kept in mind because there is still that 1 in a million chance. So it is still worth keeping note, I believe.
He's fighting Yoel Romero. If you lose, I don't care if whichever you reward of the ring was too heavy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. This ain't Deontay we're talking about.
Yeah, but think about the walkout this motherfucker did for that title fight.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely.
That's
No, it's just one of those things that it bears mentioning because it's not getting a lot of coverage, and I think it should have. But the other thing that I want to talk about real quick here before we get out of here, Karolina Kowalkiewicz. We watched her just get absolutely melted a couple weeks ago, and it turns out she got hurt a lot more than she was initially letting on. She is currently in the hospital waiting to undergo eye surgery this evening, where they will be mounting a titanium plate across the front of her orbital bone, and she actually posted a video. She can't even move her right eye more than a tiny bit, and it's fucking scary looking when you watch her moving the left eye and then the right eye not corresponding. That's the kind of shit we don't want to see. So that's one of those things that we hope she gets a speedy recovery, but this injury might very well be the thing that completely takes her out of MMA altogether, because the heal time and the recovery, not to mention having a fucking titanium plate across your face, is going to make it a little difficult to stay at the top of the UFC, I think.
Yeah.
This is like the same situation with Rose, you know what I'm saying? Except for a different injury. Like if
Right.
Rose got slammed the wrong way on her neck like that, like she could have died.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's like, go ahead, Nick.
So I'm pretty sure she was diagnosed with Graves' disease, which is a thyroid disease. And I was talking to somebody, and they said, like, first of all, your eyes are very much so affected by Graves' disease. You get bugged eyes, and they could go lazy like that.
Mm-hmm.
I know somebody very close to me that has it, and their eye can do the same thing without getting punched in it.
Right.
So it was probably very not good for the extra stress on her eyes for that, and I'd be surprised if she came back from that.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking during the fight when she was taking that elbow to the face that, like, dude, she might have popped her fucking eye socket.
Yeah,
and
it
turns
looked
out
bad
she did.
even in the moment. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
even in the moment watching the fight, like it was brutal. But I mean, it's the nature of the game, right? Like, this is the risk you take every time you go in. So I pray for her recovery, but I mean, she knew the risks going in. She knew who she was fighting.
Yeah, no, and that's the bad part, is that there is no fault to place here. She signed up for this. She knew what she was getting into, and she went up against a fucking badass who gave it to her. And, you know, at the end, fair play, fucking shook hands. Everything was respectful, but still, this is the fucking price you pay sometimes when you fucking take that walk, man.
I feel like with her credentials, there's not a single gym in the whole world that she wouldn't be an instructor at and be treated with.
Absolutely.
I would, the amount of knowledge that she has, it's like being trained by the Bullet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no doubt. So moving on from there, a couple little pieces here before we get into the meat and potatoes, as it were. One of the most important ones, probably the most important announcement I'm going to make in this segment, was announced the day before yesterday. Next week, Kansas will officially be holding a bare knuckle fighting summit involving their entire commission, judges, representatives, the whole kit and caboodle. They are trying to be the place that starts the unified bare knuckle fighting rule set, similar to what we have in the UFC, so that way no matter what state you are in, the judging is still the same. Because as of right now, while we're still working under the state-by-state basis for bare knuckle, be it BKFC or Valerie, whatever the fuck Frank's is called, the bare knuckle is catching on undeniably. But because it's still state-by-state, every event literally has different standards for judging. That's a bad thing. Anyone that follows combat sports knows that the unified rule set is one of the things that is there to protect the fighters specifically, because you know no matter where you go, you don't have to worry about anything changing. You still have the same set of guidelines to follow and be protected by. So hats the fuck off to Kansas for leading the charge here on that one.
And when you look up Kansas fighting, this is what you get.
That's right. That, or if you're the president, you look at the Super Bowl parade for the Chiefs. But moving along from there, there's one more fight announcements and then two more things that I'm going to give you guys heads up on. The last fight announcement, we fucking called it. In the moment we called it, before the fight was even fucking done last week, before the fucking fight took place, we called it, and sure the fuck enough, it happened. It was announced just this afternoon, about 4 hours ago. May 9th, the UFC 250 card in Brazil will now be, as of right now, it's the co-main event because they're still trying to put together a different setup for the Cejudo bullshit. Amanda Nunes will be defending her 145-pound belt against Felicia Spencer.
Yep.
This is such
surprising.
Yeah.
Absolutely nobody.
It's like I said, we fucking called it. They set Bisping in like a fucking weasel Trojan horse to fucking hype up both Megan and fucking Felicia, even though Spencer just beat Anderson her last fucking time out there. But now we officially have it. The 7-women division of 145 pounds is now going to have another title defense, Amanda versus Felicia. The only thing I can say about this one is that as much trouble as Felicia gave Cyborg, first woman to take her to 5 and cut her open and make her bleed, and then we saw the way that Amanda handled Cyborg. I think if you use just a tiny bit of MMA math, not a lot, I don't encourage you to use a lot, but just a little bit, this still, even for the disappointing matchup that it is, has some potential to be very good once we get there.
I think it's going to be a lot better fight than what it could have been with the other choices out there.
I agree.
This is Amanda Nunes can get herself in trouble on this. So
she can.
I mean, her last fight out, I mean, she didn't look so fucking hot.
Yeah, no, that's what I was just gonna say. We saw Jermaine test her very, very fucking thoroughly, even though it was at 135. Yeah. That was still legitimately one of the best tests we've seen of Amanda Nunes. And then if you look at the way that we saw Felicia Spencer in there against Cyborg, putting that same type of fucking serious fucking grinding 5-round test on you, I think there's still some interesting prospects to come out of this fight. Last 2 little pieces here before we get into the main course, as it were. 2 other cards going on this weekend, aside from the UFC 248 card that we're going to talk about in just a little bit. Both, I feel, are absolutely worth watching. One more than the other, but like I said, I like to make sure you guys have information so you can make your own decisions and develop as your own fans. So the first one I'm going to talk about here is WFC, the World Fighting Championship, goes down on Saturday evening just before UFC kicks off. There are several very, very highly touted prospects on there. This is not a card for folks who only want to watch the full casual, recognizable names. This is one of those cards for people who are trying to get a little more in-depth, get a little more knowledge of the sport, and look at some of the next up-and-coming class, as it were, of some of the stars. Yeah, this is for the guys and gals who enjoy fighting, because this is one of the organizations that the UFC has been looking at, as well as Bellator, to pick up their next crop of new and upcoming talent. And there are some very, very highly touted prospects.
Correlation. College football.
Right.
NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. Same fucking principle here. We're looking at the minor leagues. Yeah, we're looking at the highest level minor league. And then the other one that I want to talk about real quick is actually a dual announcement here. Tomorrow night, Friday night, March 6th, we have got 2 events going on, both with recognizable names and fairly significant outcome repercussions. The first one is LFA 83. There are some big names on there who are also being touted by the UFC as well. Some notable, more so names on that than the WFC card. But the big one, the most important one that is going down tomorrow night is the Invicta Phoenix Rising series, because it is the first MMA professionally put on card that will have official open scoring in every bout. So every round will be public knowledge of what every judge scored it. And that has huge implications. Yes, just exactly like boxing. The second the round is over, the judge has to turn in their fucking card with their name on it, so they will be held accountable round by round, and everyone, fighters included, will know where they stand.
Like that judge, Joe Rogan called out. He's like, he's not even watching the fight.
Joe Solis, was taking fucking selfies during his fucking matches. Yes. So we will be able to hold assholes like that accountable in real time and not have to wait till the recap show where I go ape shit about it.
If anybody knows how to become a judge, I need to do this.
No shit.
I need to get this.
Yeah, we could definitely use somebody like Alan as a judge. I think we'd be all right. But that will bring us to the meat and potatoes segment of the show here. The reason for the season, the namesake of the episode, UFC 246 Adesanya versus Romero. This
Yes.
card,
salad.
oh, this card, boys and girls. This is one of those that we literally look forward to for the entirety of its announcement wait period, because we know that regardless of what they try to do, they can't fuck this card up. And they gave a little effort. There is definitely a little bit of fluff in here, like we've seen in most cards lately, but this one is one of the leanest, just most choice, tastiest looking cards we have seen of 2020 so far. So,
No,
go ahead.
according to Sherdog, the lineup they have 1 through 12. Once you get to fight 5 and 6, everything above it is just. Oh, I think number 5 or 6 is Quinones versus
Quinones,
O'Malley,
yeah.
which
Yep.
this is like the second or third time we've talked about this fight, because it hasn't happened yet.
Yep.
And everybody wants it to happen, and that's why it's still happening on Saturday.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we will start a little bit kind of at the tippy top here, the early prelims. It's only a 3-card early prelim, but this is an early prelim card built just for our friend Fresh here. This is all little guys and gals to open the fight up. Fireworks galore, not a whole lot of impactful fights as far as divisions go, but still 3 very potentially entertaining fights, both the guys and the gals. I will say, though, that the ladies fight, the Whitmire fight versus Viana, for the prelim, air quote, premier early prelim fight, that's what it is absolutely the most potential I see of the 3.
I concur.
See Fight Pass.
Yeah.
But yeah, and this one's really interesting because I mean, Whitmire she had her hopes and dreams crushed early in her career, but she came back. She came back, and she's got an opponent who really likes to start things fast.
Yeah, Baliana Viana is game as fuck.
Yeah, so like if she can, I think it's Whitmire's fight if she can hold out for a round.
I agree.
I think it's her fight if she can hold out. But I mean, there's every chance in the world that she gets slobber knocked or get tapped. There's all sorts of things that could happen. But it can be. This is gonna be a fun fight.
I agree completely, and I think you're 100% spot on there. I think this is going to be a matter of, can Whitmire withstand the early storm that Viana is going to put on her? And if she does, I agree 100%. I think if they make it to round 2, Viana has been known to just put her foot on the pedal and dump that gas tank to try and get the stoppage. And that's not Whitmire's style. She will wear that bitch out and then come back in round 2 to take control, I think.
Yep.
But moving along from there, that will jump us into the prelims themselves. Again, a little bit of fluff in here, but not too terribly much. First one I want to talk about real quick here is the opening fight on that prelim card. Gerald Meerschaert versus Deron Winn. This is one of those situations where we see it time and time again. They take a pair of wrestlers and they throw them against each other just to kind of see how it's going to hash out. And this is a particularly interesting one because we have seen Meerschaert both be a badass wrestler and striker and gas out using too much energy early on. And then across from him, we have mini DC himself, Daniel Cormier's assistant wrestling coach in Gilroy and training partner at ATT, Deron Winn, who, to his credit, is a spectacular wrestler, but could not, frankly, punch his way out of a wet paper bag for my fucking money.
Here's the thing: is Meerschaert, a lot of times he gassed out is because he went for a submission and he didn't give up in time. Like he overexerts himself.
Yes, I agree.
But Meerschaert has a lot of slick submissions,
Yes,
and he's not like an exciting fighter, but he's a well-rounded fighter.
Right.
I love watching his fights. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I hope he has a beard this one because I think he looks weird without a beard.
He looks very weird, babyface. No, I completely agree, and that's exactly why I wanted to talk about this fight, is because we've got a situation here where we legitimately, as much as I don't fucking like Mini DC, we have 2 legitimate, very, very good wrestlers and grapplers, whereas on one side we've got a wrestler with submission, and on the other side we've just got a straight raw wrestler, but the striking difference here is going to make all the factor, I think. I think Meerschaert's striking ability is going to help him set up his submissions more than Wynn's wrestling ability will try and get him to a ground and pound position, which is where he would have an advantage in that situation.
With his wrestling pedigree, though, like that style and type of wrestling, there's usually not a whole lot of worry about defending submissions. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But I think Mearshart has the ability to, say, recover half guard or guard and sweep.
Yes. And make
but
something out of
it. At the same time, though, it's like if he's, oh boy's that good of an elite grappler, it's going to be, like you said, mini DC is just going to fucking ragdoll you and do what he wants. So,
Yep.
I mean, it's really, and it's who shows up, you know? This isn't Mearshart's
Right.
fucking first rodeo. This is his,
Absolutely.
like, 8th rodeo.
I think at this point we should stop bullshitting around. It's two wrestlers going at it. We know exactly what's going to fucking happen.
Right.
They're going to punch each other in the face for, and it's going to look stupid.
They are going to fight for 5 minutes. They're going to have a 1 minute rest period. They will fight for
Right.
5 more minutes.
And they're just going to go like this at each other.
Right.
They may
I
have
agree.
another 1 minute rest period, and then they will try and fight for 5 more minutes.
I have to agree with Fresh on this one. We're not going to see any wrestling at all because lately, every time we've seen two wrestlers put against each other, who are
They don't
strong
want to
in
fucking
wrestling.
wrestle each other.
No, they want to punch each
They would
other.
have kept wrestling. They, you know, they're unless you're a point fighter, you know, and you're just trying to win.
And but at the same time, every time I see Drawn in there, Mini DC fucking that dude cannot punch to save his fucking life.
You can't.
I have a better. If it was a straight boxing match, I could go in and beat Drawn, and I don't fucking train boxing.
You know, I'll drink a beer and then go boxing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Open challenge.
but his wrestling's on point. Granted, I don't. I as much as I think it would be a good wrestling match between the two of them, I just don't see it happening. It's going to be all fucking punches. And if we're lucky, we might see.
We'll see a couple leg
Mearshart.
kicks thrown in just for good measure.
Yeah, Mearshart might throw a leg kick or two.
Yeah.
I don't think Drawn will.
No, I don't think so. Not effortful anyway. Not with any kind of
If
fucking
he does-
compassion.
I hope it's the same kind of kick that Sean Salmon kicked against fucking Rashad Evans.
Oh,
I'm dating
that's
myself
mean.
now.
That's mean.
Oh boy.
You know, that was one of his bucket lists in life. He's like, I'm in the UFC. I got to do this fucking sweet kick that's not going to hit air. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right. No shit.
It looked cool. And you're like, why the fuck would you do that? He's across the cage. Like, I don't understand what you're doing. Didn't mean to caveat, you know.
You're all good.
You got that. You can't hear Nick laughing.
I'm not laughing.
Sorry, giggling.
You got a take on this one, Mr. Divine?
I'll take Darren Wynn. I'll take him. Nobody else wants him. I'll take him.
Okay, you can play
I
the
didn't
devil's
say he
avocado
wasn't
this
going to
time.
win. I'm a Mearshart fan.
Yeah.
It's all good.
If he doesn't have a beard, he's going to lose.
Yeah, I think for Darren,
That's my
yeah.
money right there.
I mean that is a good way to go about it. I usually just go. I think everybody that does their picks, their fight picks, is usually 50%. So if I go against one person throughout the whole show, I'll get 50% too, and I won't look so stupid.
Play them odds.
Hey, we should do that. We should start keeping track of our picks.
Right, we need somebody to make a spreadsheet for us. Somebody's got to get us a Word document or an Excel spreadsheet for this.
I can do that tomorrow.
We might have to start tracking these Rudels.
I can have that shit done tomorrow before lunch.
Here we go.
Oh, somebody. Oh, everybody chips in for a belt. And
Right.
get to wear it
Hell
around.
Hell
for
yeah.
them.
We might
Or maybe
have
have
to make this a thing.
the loser do something stupid and have to post it on social media.
I mean,
Nothing like
WWE
crazy.
shop is all. I mean, they've always got their title belts on sale.
That's
They
true.
wouldn't go
They sent one to Travis Kelce for the Super Bowl win. He wore it to the fucking parade too.
Have you seen how much WWE stock is right now?
Well, that just means that the belts are going to
That's
be
why they're sales.
Got to make up them lost profits.
Exactly.
I think that. I mean, if I had to, I mean, to talk stocks, I mean, with as well as the XFL is doing,
True.
they're on the way back up.
Very true. Very true.
That is fantastic.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Oh, but that will bring us to the next one I want to talk about here on the prelims card. The fight that, as Alan said, we've been waiting for and anticipating for a hot fucking minute now. We are finally going to get as the premier prelim fight to close out the prelims and bring us to the pay-per-view main card. One Sean Sugar O'Malley versus Jose Alberto Quinones, the baddest mustache in the fucking UFC. This match has nothing but fucking gloriousness written all over it here. This is both the first time we are seeing Sugar Sean come back after the hottest piss we have seen from a show in a good minute. Well, since the R. Kelly trials, really.
That train's getting derailed in Mexico, baby.
Yeah.
Hottest piss since John Jones.
That's right. And then we have got him going up against one of the baddest mustachioed motherfuckers the UFC has to offer. And I, for one, am absolutely and unequivocally on that mariachi train, waiting for that train to just get fucking derailed to take my sacks of gold and run away. I think there is no doubt in my fucking mind the Sugar Show is getting thrown right off the tracks and Quinones is going to beat the fucking brakes off of that goofy dressing son of a bitch.
You know what I really hope is that he does some flashy fucking spin move and Quinones just stands in the pocket and fucking hits him with the big right and
Yep.
You watch O'Malley hit the fucking floor like the zombie did.
I'm right there with you because that's one
Video,
of Jose's
video game
specialties.
status, like, oh, absolutely.
He's got a
power.
beautiful counter right. He's got the power, and O'Malley likes to be flashy. That's a very realistic possibility.
Well, the problem with my scenario is you mistime it, and you're getting fucking possibly knocked the fuck out. Or
absolutely. Yeah, it's a dangerous move, but it's a dangerous move to do.
I think that's what happens. I think that's what, because Quinones, he's not scared to stand in the pocket.
Not at all.
And that's there's no doubt in my mind. So if I can just see it, him doing some stupid spinning back fist or trying to do some jump 360 fucking kick.
Or a fucking capoeira fucking up kick or some stupid shit like he likes to do. I agree.
I would
think
like to
that's
see
a
some
great
shit like
possibility.
that and then chin to the chin, like, bah!
Right.
Just catch him, throw him, just catch that capoeira overkick and just catch him like ankle lock, Kurt Angle style.
Yep.
Oh, fuck yeah. No, you mean Ken Shamrock style.
Just throwing back, yeah.
Oh, give me start talking about Steve Blackman. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, Jesus. We're going way back. Oh.
Yeah.
This fight I actually see Sugar Sean. I mean, he can't help himself. He's gonna do something stupid. But I mean, for the most part, I see him just trying to stay back and dancing away and trying to use his reach on Conyas. But I mean, if he can keep his distance the whole fight, I mean, it'd be his fight. But I just don't see it. I think he gets it. I think Conyas gets inside and just rocks him a couple times, and hopefully we get to see Sugar Sean, taking a nap.
Huh. I like Sugar Sean O'Malley. I picked Sugar Sean before these guys even were talking about it. I'm not even trying to be the heel.
I like O'Malley too, but his hype he got hyped up like he was the next Conor McGregor. You know what I'm saying?
Well, he's got a pretty decent personality. He's got a pretty fun style. He's got a very fun style.
Oh, yeah.
And he reminds me a lot of
the dude you used to get high in his garage in high school.
Yeah,
what?
Dude, I was just about to say, I seen a video of him when he was suspended, and it did not look good. Listen, this is only my thoughts. This isn't the whole show's thoughts, but it looked like he had two rules. Don't touch my fucking Percocets, and do you have any fucking Percocets? Because he looked rough, dude. And he was definitely showing signs of not just edible weed. It didn't look good, but that was like a year ago, I think.
Well,
he's good. But,
you also got to remember he got injured in his last fight before he pissed off.
Yeah, he broke his, or I don't know if he broke his leg or he did something.
It was his ankle or his foot. I don't remember.
I think he broke his ankle. Yeah.
He was 10-7 those first two rounds, and then something happened, and literally he gets taken down, and he just holds on for dear life for that last 5 minutes.
He probably should. If the opposite fighter was a smarter fighter, he should have lost that fight, but he ended up winning. But yeah, I think he reminds me of who's the guy that elbowed Korean Zombie the last second?
Yair Rodriguez.
Yeah, he reminds me of him, where it's very like he does creative shit. It's weird shit. It could freeze people, and I just think he's fun to watch. I guess I'm more rooting for Sean O'Malley than thinking that
he's very fun to watch, and he's very unorthodox. And I don't dislike him. I just feel like they're putting the spotlight where spotlights do elsewhere.
But it could be kind of the same thing with Lando. Like Lando, I enjoy watching him, but he doesn't really win much.
Well, Lando, in my opinion, he's a gatekeeper. You beat Lando, now you can go up the ladder.
Yeah.
The only thing I have against everything you said there is you like his personality. Fuck that dude's personality. That dude is a fucking tool. Period.
You could line
However,
him up. Yeah.
He does look like a dust mop currently, and I'm just saying he could use a fucking haircut, but whatever. I mean, if you want to look like Ben Askren's crackhead cousin, feel free, because that's what he looks like right now.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I think the biggest problem that he's going to have is ring rust from the 2-year layoff. Look, I know everybody is training that whole 2 years off, blah, 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 blah. You were training with how much Percocet you could snort and how much weed you could smoke, but whatever. I think the ring rust is going to be his biggest problem because in the gym and sparring is not the same as combat speed. It's a whole different thing. You go from
Jones,
0 to 20.
Jones was garbage.
Yeah, it's fucking terrible. So this one's going to be fucking Jose all day long and that glorious fucking mustache.
The only thing I would say to that, as much as I don't want to, because I don't fucking like him and I'm not fucking shy about it. I've said it before and I will say it again. I always try to give credit where credit is due. And to the point of ring rust, I would agree to a certain degree, with the exception, I think you might have forgotten here. We actually just saw Sean O'Malley 2 months ago competing in the quintet competition, and he did look spectacular in his jiu-jitsu. Albeit it's a jiu-jitsu only, but...
And that's why I didn't bring that up. Right. Look, grappling, you're not worried about getting punched or kicked in the fucking mouth.
That's what I said. It's not negating the ring rust by any stretch of the imagination. But to his credit, because I do want to give credit where credit is due, he did look fucking great.
Full speed and be fine. His stand-ups are going to be there too.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. There's something to be said about him at least staying active enough in the jiu-jitsu to where he won't have a full ring rust set in.
My life experiences and what I've seen and the people I've trained with, he's going to be okay.
Oh, he'll be okay to get fucking turned up on his head and mop the floor with that fucking mop on top of his head.
Absolutely.
If that's what you're saying, yeah. I'm not saying he's going to have a lot of ring rust, but it's definitely going to show. Right. Like, you'll be able to tell from that 2 years off what he looked like previously that there is that rust.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, look at the John Jones and St. Preux fight. John Jones came back, needed a tune-up fight, fought St. Preux, and it was almost as hard to watch as the Derek Lewis and Ngannou fight.
Yeah, that was an absolute. That's a 100% valid point, because that fight with John Jones, had he been fighting anyone other than OSP, who has always been an OSP kind of guy aside from his Von Flue chokes, had John been fighting anyone other than OSP, that fight may not have gone the way that we saw that go.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Here's a funny thing about this show is the top 3 people I would like to hang out with in the UFC are Sean O'Malley, Mike Perry, and Colby Covington. It's my top 3.
That's it. I got to take those so I can pick them out. Hang on.
Boot his ass just for Mike Perry. Fucking nobody wants to hang out with a piece of aluminum.
Kids these days.
Aluminium?
That's right.
Aluminium.
The aluminium couple.
That's what happens when you wake up at a fucking 8 or a 9. You think that it's cool to hang out with motherfuckers like that.
I mean,
hey Nick, you gotta change your name to Divine Platinum.
Oh, there you go. Get the eyebrow tattoo.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Just get Divine tattoo right there. No, but that will bring us to the actual.
Nick should make a post.
Oh.
Take a picture of himself and be like, tag Mike Perry. Be like, somebody said I was handsome, and I said, oh, you think I look like Mike Perry?
No, that will bring us though into the actual meat and potatoes segment of the meat and potatoes portion of this meat and potatoes kind of show, the main card itself, the pay-per-view section of UFC 248. Now, this is much like most of the cards we've seen in 2020, not all of them, but most of them, trending in the direction we like to see, where they take the fluff fights, they take the less important, the less impactful fights, and they keep them on the prelims and on the early prelims, and then the main card is nothing but fights who carry relevant things through their division or through the organization. First and foremost, right out of the fucking gate, the very first one, Alex Cowboy Oliveira versus Max Griffin. Now, this fight has a whole bunch of interesting potential just on the stylistic base of the matchup itself. But one of the less discussed things that does warrant mentioning is that if you watch the official Media Day face-offs they did just earlier this afternoon, Max Griffith, aside from looking like he borrowed his stepdad's suit and it didn't fit him right, came in limping on one leg. So, aside from not understanding how to dress for a giant promotional event like this, he also seems to be potentially hiding a little bit of an injury against a guy in Cowboy Oliveira who is going to roll you everywhere around that fucking mat if you don't stop him. An injury like that could be a very, very serious situation that he, like a lot of fighters we've seen, have been just trying to hide to keep from getting pulled off the card. But if that's the case, coming in against a guy as active and as versatile as Cowboy Oliveira, that's going to shoot you right to the fucking bottom, right out of the gate. Because aside from impacting your striking and your movement ability, that's going to almost completely negate your ability to defend or try and get out of positions on the ground, where Cowboy Oliveira is a dominant motherfucker. Aside from having decent striking and good wrestling, he's a badass on the fucking ground. So if Max really is hurt, yeah, this is fucked for him.
It's the same thing with Rose Namajunas. It's like, hey, bro, if you're hurt, nobody's gonna take care of you but you.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, they might be like, oh, you're pulling out of the card, but you're like, yo, I'm injured. I don't want to hurt myself because your ratings are gonna, you know what I mean? Like, I'm more important than that.
I agree.
Guys don't, you know, you're not a piece of something. You're somebody. You know
right.
What I mean?
Coming in with a limp for Griffin right now is not necessarily a bad thing. Oliveira's been on a slide. He's lost his last 2 or 3 fights now, and he has not looked good at all. Well, and one of them was from fucking aluminum Mike, just so that way Nick gets his rocks off over there. But yeah, fucking, if you, and who's to say, maybe he wasn't faking the limp coming in. Maybe he's trying to bait Oliveira into thinking he's injured. And if nobody brought it up and nobody said anything about it, interview wise, maybe he's playing fucking cool either. Well, if he doesn't know how to dress himself, that very well could be the problem. That you know, he had to steal a suit from his dad because he couldn't reach it because one leg is shorter than the other. So you know,
right.
I was just reading. His balls are so big, that's why he was limping. He was having trouble walking over them.
I mean I mean, if it's true of anybody on the card, that would be Max Griffin. I mean, he's.
I wouldn't want to fight him.
He may not be the winningest motherfucker, but he don't stop. So
he's a beast, man.
Yeah.
Was it? I can't think of his name. Trains with McGregor, 170, elbowed Oliveira, and I can't think of his name. I can look at his face. I can think of his face though. Meter, who is this? Like 6 months ago, elbow to the face, Cowboy, real bad. Oh my God, I can't think of his name.
Darren Till.
No, not Darren Till. This guy trains with McGregor. I can't think of his name.
Oh, you're talking about fucking God damn it.
Yes.
I know who you're talking about. I can't think of his fucking name now. It's eluding me.
I can see his face and his chin strap beard and his large forehead.
Oh my God! I can't believe. Oh man.
This is contagious, guys. Be careful.
Yeah.
So is this our version of the coronavirus?
Bigger guy. What?
Yeah, he has the karate style.
Yeah.
Matt, no, not Max. I keep wanting to say Gustafson, but it's not that.
No. Hold on.
We'll get an answer.
Yep. Ask the Google machine. I'm drawing a blank. I can't. It's really bothering me. This is gonna really bother me.
No. And it's gone.
All right, hold on. I'll find it. I'll go to SureDog and pull up.
I'm already there.
Yep. Let's see.
I'm just waiting on SureDog to answer here.
Gunnar Nelson.
Yep. There you go.
Gunny. Okay.
God, I couldn't like. I kept like in my mind. I kept saying Gustafsson instead of Gunnar, and I'm like, this is fucking wrong.
No, you said big dude that trains with McGregor, and I'm like, Charlie Ward has never fought Oliveira.
Oh, I had
No, but-
Oliveira's fucking record up too. I could have just went down that.
Yeah, well, if only, you know. You
Yeah.
could have saved us all that
This is-
effort.
But,
Thanks,
yeah,
Colby.
I mean, this is really interesting fight.
I mean, it can go stand up, ground. Like they're
Yeah.
both outstanding fighters wherever it goes.
Yeah,
They're entertaining
Romero,
fighters at that.
I think Griffin's got a better gas tank, and I think it could come down to that.
So yeah.
Well, I agree with exactly Fresh, but it's like if Oliveira, if he's going to catch you or he's not.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that's the problem is you don't know. Like if getting caught like that, that could happen with 1 second left in the third round.
It's true.
And he can do that. There's been plenty of fights where I watched him lose, and then his opponent slips up and he was ready, and then he knocks you the fuck out.
Yeah.
So,
Whenever I look at any fight, I always think, well, how good would they do against a great fighter like Mike Perry? But both these guys fought Mike Perry, so we could do some MMA math.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
yeah. You know what's funny? I was gonna make a joke about having a bracelet that said, "What would Mike Perry do?"
So Max Griffin has beat Mike Perry, but Oliveira has not. And those fights were back to back, I believe, for Mike Perry. But anyway, seriously,
See, here's the thing with that theory right there. I'm gonna shut you down, Nick. Watch the interview with Joe Rogan and GSP, and GSP talks about, I beat you, you beat him, he beats me. Who's the best?
Yeah.
It doesn't. It's who shows up on Saturday night ready to win.
That's exactly what I was going to get to next. Is Oliveira has a lot more to fight for, because if he loses this one, it'll be his fourth loss in a row, and that is not good in the UFC.
Yeah, that's generally
this
walking
dude was
papers.
getting grenades thrown at him in Brazil a year ago.
Yeah.
That's true, literally.
You're literally with your cousin getting gassed, and your cousin knows what kind of money to.
I think we covered that on the show last year when it happened. But yeah,
We did.
Oliveira
I
actually
brought it
did.
up.
Yeah, Oliveira actually survived a
He took
literal
shrapnel.
grenade attack and took
He
shrapnel from it.
into his leg.
Yeah,
Wow.
Well, he might just get his gimping papers to Bellator if he loses this fight.
right. No shit. I agree.
Yeah, but you won't hear him complaining because he'll be making who knows how much more money.
Right. Yeah. No shit.
It'll definitely be a lot more than what he's making now because he ain't showing up to fight lately, so he ain't
He
making
still
dick.
lives in BFE Brazil, dog. So
Right.
whatever money he makes and those knockout
It-
bonuses,
yeah, it
here's
goes-
50 G's. It's like, all right, now I can literally live in my same house forever and never have to do anything
Yep.
ever again.
Yep.
So it's like this dude's got, say, $250,000 in the bank when he retires. Here, it's like that's not a whole lot of money, but somewhere like Brazil,
Yeah, he's set
he's
for
gonna
life
open
down
up
there.
a gym. He's gonna just fucking enjoy
So
life.
what I'm hearing is I need to become an expat when it's time for me to retire. All right, got it.
My brother's doing it. My brother's going to Thailand.
Nice.
No, I've thought about Thailand.
Yeah.
Thailand's so my
Different-
VA check roughly a little over $2,000. I could live like a fucking king over there, dude. A king. $2,000 a month.
The other big one's Panama.
Right.
I'd rather go to
It's
Asia.
coming up. I checked out. I've checked out many.
Hey,
That's all I'm
And
saying.
now nowadays, I'd still rather go to Asia.
True. Plus, then you'd get to be able to see a lot more of the ONE FC cards if you're over in Thailand.
Well, not so much that, but like I like fishing, and fishing's better over there.
That's true.
My opinion. My opinion. My daughter wants to say hi.
Uh-oh.
Hello.
Don't worry, she can't hear all you foul mouth sailors.
That's for the fucking best. Oh, but that will bring us along to the next one I want to talk about here. Another very, very meaningful and very, very significant fight on the card. The return of Neil Magny against Li Jingliang. Neil Magny, like we started to get into a little bit earlier, is back now as a product of the Nate Diaz situation. Neil Magny was one of the first people to test positive for the same metabolites that Nate Diaz tested hot for. But if you remember, they quite literally retested and verified and then cleared Nate Diaz from his sample within 2 days, while Neil Magny sat on the sidelines for a year and a half. They subsequently went back and retrofitted, I'm using air quotes for those of you listening, they retrofitted his suspension, which is why we're seeing him now, and he has been very, very open about his role to play in it, his opposition to it, and the poor handling, absolutely piss poor handling, literally, of the USADA supplements and handling of this situation here. But the problem for me is that Neil Magny, as good as he was when he left, and again, I'm not a big fan of his, but I give credit where credit is due. As good as he was when he left, he is coming back against the Leech in a test that I don't feel he truly understands the volume of. Li Jingliang is not just a gigantic, very well-rounded fighter. He is part of the dual-tipped spear that China is putting into the UFC of their significantly predominant fighters in Li Jingliang and Weili Zhang.
Fucking tap you out.
Yeah, he is not just a badass. He is also part of the dual-tipped spear that China is throwing full force into the UFC to try and get Chinese MMA on the map and try and get some of these more prevalent Chinese fighters a little more recognition. And if you watch both Weili Zhang and Li Jingliang, both make a point as soon as they win to talk about their team, to talk about their coaches, to talk about their teammates. There's a reason for that. These two are wedging. Yeah, these two are wedging the door open to pry in some of that Chinese MMA talent that we just frankly have not seen yet. I feel bad
for her getting stuck in Thailand at Tiger Muay Thai.
I agree. That was a horrible situation. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but no.
Sorry.
The Li Jingliang match.
You do that.
Yeah, the Li Jingliang match against Neil Magny here, I feel is going to be a very significant matchup here. Not only just because we're going to see what Neil is capable of with more ring rust than anybody should be allowed to come back with, but Li Jingliang is a very, very dangerous and well-rounded striker. For a big dude, he uses his range very, very great. He's got good striking, but if you can get in the phone booth with him, he also has great grappling, great wrestling, and submission threats from all over the fucking place that don't get talked about that much. Now, Neil Magny is a hell of a grappler with decent striking and some submissions himself, but I don't think even before the suspension, if this matchup would have been played, that Neil Magny would have had the edge over the younger, more hungry, in my opinion, Li Jingliang. I think it's going to be a good match. I don't think it's going to be a quick fight. I think this goes all three. If we see
judges... Go back
judges,
to the Lombard fight.
Yeah, if we see judges, it could get interesting. But I think this is going to end... Yeah, I think this is going to end late third. I think Lee takes this one.
No, I'm right there with you, Meter. And I more of what I was saying was not to count him out. You know, because he can pull it off if you give him the opportunity. But I think the Leech has a better gas tank than, say, Lombard, for instance.
Yeah.
And he's not a one-trick pony. Like Lombard was going to go for a knockout or a big throw, and that's basically it. You know what I mean? With the Leech, he's gonna fight you.
And this is, I think this will be fascinating. Just because Li Jingliang is coming out of that, he's coming out of that super precise, super efficient Asian style of MMA, and I don't know that I don't know that he's gonna
Called
that he's gonna
Dai
take that he's gonna respect Magny's striking as much as a lot of other people would.
I agree.
I mean, Magny's got some power. He's got some power, but I just don't see it. And just based on what we've seen over the last couple months with these Chinese fighters coming in and just decimating people with exactly just their precise. It's fantastic to watch their style.
It's almost like back in the day. I'm sorry to interrupt. It's like the Korean top team when they kind of hit the scene.
Yeah,
like
real
20
similar.
years ago.
Real similar.
And
Yeah,
it was like, where the fuck did these guys come from? You know what I mean? And these dudes were all in great shape and were outstanding.
Yeah.
So for me, this is kind of like it reminds me of that.
Yeah, I concur. Yeah, it's a lot of fun to watch these guys come in and just they'll lay waste to people and people start catching on to the game eventually. But for the moment, I mean, we're kind of in the midst of that initial surge, and I don't know that Leach makes it out of the second.
Well, yeah, I mean, where and who Magny trains with, there's nothing but top elite level fighters there. I mean, there obviously aren't that level, but that gym is legit.
Yeah,
but
I concur.
It's
I think he's just in trouble with this dude coming out of China.
Okay.
Because we've seen what he can do, and we've seen what all of his partners can do. It's no fun for anybody that gets in the ring with him.
Yeah.
No, I mean, there's a reason his nickname's the Leech.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because he's there. He's not going anywhere. At least the 4 fights I've seen of his.
Yep.
He's not going anywhere.
So, since 2017, what's Li Jingliang?
Jingliang.
No, that's pronounced Jingling.
That's pronounced Jingling, yeah.
Jangalang, Mr. Jangalang for
no,
2017.
just because you're in PA, it's Yingling.
Yingling. Man, he has fought in either Singapore or China and he's won all them fights, but when he came outside of there to Australia, he lost. It's just a little thing there.
Yeah, it must have been a really bad jet lag fly from China to Australia.
Where are they fighting on Saturday?
Vegas.
They're in America.
Yeah, there's a lot of Australians in Vegas, so. It's a hard fight to pick. What do you want from me?
Oh boy, Jesus. I think for me, this fight's exciting for me for 2 reasons. One, I get to see what happens to Neil Magny when he comes back. And by what happens to him, I mean, he's going to get beat. But the thing that really excited me the most was how much press I've seen Neil Magny get. And all of the press is just fucking writing the Leech off like they're a bunch of dumb fucks who have never seen him here before. He's only lost
translator, man.
He's only lost 1 fucking fight in the UFC. 1 in the UFC. His other 4 professional losses were outside of the UFC prior to him getting to the level he's at now.
Yep.
It dumbfounds me that the media can be so one-sided because, oh my God, we know who Neil Magny is. We've heard his name. We've seen what happened to him before. For those of you who don't know, Neil Magny lost his last fight prior to his suspension.
To Ponzinibbio, which is a great fight. See, Neil Magny has fought some real good guys. I mean, he's beat Kelvin Gastelum, right? And
the problem with Magny is he takes fights that he can't win because he believes he can, which you're supposed to believe you can, but like he shouldn't have fought Santiago. Like you're not ready, you're not there yet, man. Like, his coaches should have been like, yeah, you should wait.
And to be quite honest, I don't think Neil Magny is anywhere near the Leech's fucking level. Not anywhere near. Like
I agree completely.
The Leech is on an entirely different level right now. To be honest, Li Jingliang, he's fucking taking this fight. This is a step down in competition for him. It's not a step up.
Well, he probably has respect for Neil Magny and knows what he's capable of, and that's a
Well,
big name for him to put on the resume.
Yeah,
look,
it is.
it's a good name for the resume. I get that portion of it. However, I think the only reason he took this fight is because part of the Chinese culture is that whole being subdued, respectful,
Yep.
sure, just kind of go with the flow type thing because, communism. But anyhow, he really should have just said, yeah, no, this dude's not worth my time. I deserve better. And he really does. He'll prove it again on Saturday. I don't see this getting outside of fucking like maybe the first or second minute of the second round. I really don't see it going that far. I think he gets it done in the first.
I think, yeah, the only thing wrong with his record is there isn't names on there that people recognize. It, so Neil Magny's a good one to start off with.
Yeah, absolutely.
That Neil, like I was talking about the gatekeeper, like with Orlando, you beat Neil Magny. Now that's the giant leap you need in that.
Yeah,
You just beat Neil Magny.
Yeah, we're fighting Mike Perry next. Yeah.
That's how it starts, man. That's how it starts. Next thing you know, you're crushing aluminum cans and you're getting recognition. So, we can hope. But that's going to bring us on to what is now commonly being referred to as the People's Co-Main Event, the Co-Main Event, if you were, the next to Co-Main Event, the pre-Co Eve, if you will, of fights on this card. And this one, for my money, is
third to last fight.
Yeah, this one, for my money, is the dark horse fight on this card. That's not to take anything away from the main or the co-main, but for me, this is the dark horse fight on this card. People, for as long as I can fucking remember, have been completely overlooking and sleeping on Benyeli Dariush. This is legitimately one of the baddest motherfuckers around. And we have seen this week, not only in his training, but in his press videos that he's been doing, Jakar Close is absolutely 100% completely overlooking and disregarding Benyeli Dariush, and has literally said that he's just going to use him as a springboard to jump himself up into the rankings. And I think, like we've said time and time again, that is quite literally one of the dumbest things as a fighter that you can do. Aside from everything, and there is a lot that Dariush is capable of, just the mentality going into a fight this big on a platform this large and completely overlooking a fight that would not have been put in this position for no fucking reason seems like just the most careless thing in the world. And I understand Jakar Close is young. He's still got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. He's still got a little bit of an ego. But god damn it, this is the highest fucking level of fighting in the most predominant organization for MMA on the fucking planet right now. And you are in the next to biggest spot they could have possibly put you in. This is, if any time to get fucking serious. And aside from all of that, Benyeli Dariush is a dangerous, dangerous man from anywhere this fight goes. From the moment it starts, because all fights start on the feet, Dariush, I have zero doubt, has 100% the striking advantage. If it comes to a phone booth situation, he's got better dirty boxing. He's got better clinch work. If it comes down to actually getting a hold, he's got much, much better wrestling and grappling than Jakar Close does. Jakar Close does have decent striking and some wrestling, but then you take it to the ground and you've got Dariush leaps and bounds above him on top control, on domination on the ground, and on submission, both offense and defense. There is not a position in this fight I see any chance for Jakar Close to put Benyeli Dariush in any trouble, with the one exception that we talk about time and time again. That 1 in a million lightning strike chance that a puncher has. There is always that 1 in a million lightning strike, one punch you don't see coming that can change a fight. And that is quite literally the only thing and chance that I see for Jakar Close making it out of the second round awake.
It's funny you say that, because the first thing that comes to my mind where people don't really know who Dariush is, because that loss to the Korean Zombie, when he came back from that 2-year military service, and he fucking knocked him out in the first round.
Yep.
That was a huge 2 steps forward, 3 steps back for him, because he was just building momentum. And here comes the Zombie who has fought, and the Zombie fucking leveled him, dude. Yep. It was you were out,
Yeah.
and I hope he wins, man, because he has the skill set to be a champion. Hey, look, Paula Abdul. Meow. No. No, definitely. This is agreed. Dark horse fight of the night because, I mean, if you've never seen Drakkar Close fights like he lays it all. He's not afraid to get knocked out. And before Nick could say it, maybe he'll fight Mike Perry next. You know.
God damn it! Y'all are gonna make me quit doing this goddamn show. You keep bringing that cocksucker up. Oh, I can't say that so much.
Oh, you know what I'm saying? No regrets. Know what I'm saying?
Oh boy, eat a Snickers, Spike. You're getting tired.
You're not the same when you're hungry.
Oh fuck! You know, Benil Dariush, that dude, he's legitimately a fucking badass. However,
Oh, 100%.
he's had a few stumbles within the UFC where he goes on like a 2-fight fucking hot streak and then it just completely fucking derails. The plus side is he's been derailed pretty recently, so I see him probably coming back on that.
He's riding 3 right now, TJ.
Well, still, he's. There's been some times where we've seen him look absolutely fucking cold.
I'm in the
Not
same
very
place,
many,
TJ, because the fights I remember is him losing. I don't really remember when he wins, and
Well,
that's bad. As a fan, like you don't want your fans to remember when you lose. You want them to remember that time you won. That's like a year and a half ago. I still remember those. You know.
Exactly. Don't get me wrong. Fucking Drakkar Close, to be honest, he's not top tier yet. However, he's getting there. And I think a lot of people are overlooking him.
Well,
namely
Close
because
trains out of Duke Rufus, right?
Yeah, he trains out of Rufus Sports, which tells me they'll know how to get him to the top, but not keep him there. So once he gets to the top, he needs to move camps.
Yep.
Is that because did you tell Paul Felder that?
Well, I mean, if we're going to go down that list, we've got Anthony Pettis, Paul Felder, you know.
Well, Pettis won the title. Okay, so he got,
yeah, but he didn't stay there.
And then
it don't matter. He can say he fucking had that title.
That's why I said he can get you to the top.
Yeah, we
but
agree.
he can't keep you there.
Yeah, Duke
that's all I'm
Rufus
saying.
is very well known for getting fighters to the belt. He just can't keep you.
And would you say Jackson Wink can? Because they have one man.
That's debate. No. See, we can't do that because you know who else fights out of Jackson Wink? Holly fucking Holm. Made it once, keeps getting title shots, can't do it again.
I mean, that's because that's on her skill set, the way she fights.
Right.
She's a very readable fighter.
I'm just saying.
She goes,
I'm just saying. Look, I have a feeling Drakkar Close is going to be a lot better than he was the last time we've seen him out, purely on the fact that we know what happens at Rufus Sports in Milwaukee. They do a great job of getting people's games better and better and better as long as they're willing to put in the hours and train on. And obviously, we've seen that out of Drakkar Close already because he's progressively gotten better every time we see him fight.
Albeit train with Matt Serra because he was a title holder.
Well, at least you'll get some good BJJ and some weird New Jersey shit.
I'm just giving you shit. It's popping in my head, so I'm letting it flow out the mouth. You know.
But you know, I don't think Close is getting enough attention for this fight as he should be. It's
not close enough.
It's fair enough. God damn, you just have diarrhea of the mouth. You open it and shit falls out.
Close.
Yeah, to be honest, I think I don't think it's dark horse fight of the night potential. I think this is the fight of the night. I think we can see this one go all fucking 3 rounds and it's going to end up in a decision one way or another, unless Close somehow lands a clean shot in the first round because he's got a lot of power behind him.
Yep.
Oh, he's gonna bring it too. He's gonna come out like a fucking. I don't know.
You look at half of fucking Close's fights are fucking decisions, so he doesn't. He doesn't always hit the fucking mark.
Oh, the puns are killing me.
You need to sit down.
You need to sit down.
I would, but my seat's not close enough.
Is it close?
It's so close, yet so far.
Yeah, I can't pick. They're both coming off of 3 wins, so it should be a good fight. I don't know these guys nearly good enough to be picking who should win. And
Is it
that's
too close to
actually
call?
something TJ said a little bit ago is sometimes I'll pick a name just because I know it. You know, like the Neil Magny versus Lee Jingalang, whatever. Is man.
Like, oh my God, you know, like he just jinglings. Everywhere he goes, it's like cha-ching, cha-ching.
Fucking so like I'll pick Neil Magny just because I know Neil Magny, but that's not the best thing to do. So I'm trying to stop doing that. So
So
I'm gonna be honest.
for those
and
that follow Divine, don't go pick his DraftKings picks.
say- exactly. So yeah, I'm not picking for this one, but I'm looking forward to it. Both guys coming off a 3 win should be a fun one to watch.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
going to be more than fun. It's going to be.
I think this has a potential to be one of those chess matches where
Oh,
one dude will take one down, work him, and you see both of them working different submissions, and yeah, I think this has it. This could be
yeah.
a lot of casual. A lot of the hashtag casuals will be might get a little bored of the things that happen in this fight, but the folks that understand what's going on the mat and you know up against the fence and you know one dude working a clinch, the other dude's working the takedown, and this has the potential to be just a really well fought match. I don't know. I'm kind of with Nick on this one. I don't know who I want. I don't know.
I stay.
You can
Who has the better gas tank? Who has the better gas tank?
Who has the better gas tank at this point? I mean, that's
how I feel. I mean, it really depends.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it.
Theoretically,
Glass jaw, he's going down.
Yeah, theoretically, Close is he has a better gas tank, but I mean, we don't know. We don't know what these two. This could turn into two dudes stumping each other too. So
Right.
It'll be a good fight. I have no doubt, because it's gonna go for 5 minutes, and then it's gonna
get a 1 minute break.
I'm sorry, guys. I'll get a lot of adult interaction. You know, I have a 4-year-old and a 10-month-old, so be glad I'm speaking adult languages. You know.
Oh, what are you gonna do? But that brings us to the point where those of us that are going crazy here wipe the foam from our mouth and try and keep the rabidity at bay and woo-saw a little bit and bring that blood pressure back down. And it's the point in time where we stop being such hardcore fans and we stop trying to show you guys how fucking intensely we all love MMA, and we bring in the point of view that we like to call our favorite casual, one and only Miss Lumi Streams, to give us a little bit less relegated point of view on the fights. I think she's out there somewhere. I seen her. There she is.
Hello?
Hello? Alright. Alright. Casual corner is in position. So, this isn't quite the card I want for my birthday, but I guess I'll take it. I mean, it's no Masvidal. So, or Jim Miller. Like, Masvidal and Jim Miller, co-main event. I'll take it. That would be like my ideal birthday card. Maybe even Rose. Put Rose on there too. I'll be the happiest person ever.
What if they fought each other? Because they could fight each other. Who would you pick?
Who fights who?
Jim Miller versus Jorge Masvidal.
Jim Miller, because Masvidal's a pussy and he won't accept my tickle fight.
Hey, Latinos are very faithful to their significant other.
Motherfuckers, casual corner. Sit back down. Anyways, I'm gonna go for Weiling Jing just because I know for a fact I don't like Joanna. There was something about her that I didn't like, and I remember seeing her and knowing I didn't like her then. So I don't even have to look at the stats. I'm just going with Weili Jing because she's just a badass. She's just a badass. And then for the main card, I'm gonna go. Oh wait, I guess I'm going to look at. Do I want to look at the stats? So it feels like it would be a no-brainer that you'd pick Adesanya, but there was something about him that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. He's a phenomenal fighter, but there was just something that rubbed me the wrong way. But then when I tried to look for Yoel, it seems like a lot of his fights get canceled, and he's coming off of quite a few losses right now. So, really, what hope do you have going against Adesanya at that point? So, I'm gonna go with Adesanya just to be safe. I'm hoping he'll turn my opinion on him and I'll start to like him a little bit more. There's just last time something I just didn't like. I don't know what it was, but he's a good enough fighter. Yoel, you're kind of letting people down. You don't seem all that special right now. Just saying from a casual's perspective. Casual inputs done.
Thank you very much, ma'am. As always, we do appreciate the casual input and the viewpoint that those of us rabbit at the mouth can't quite get to.
I said while I was muted, I can respect the shit out of that. It was a good.
That's why we love the casual segment here. But with the casual segment over, the fangs come back out, the foam starts to slowly creep in, the blood pressure goes back up. You see me start scooting towards the edge of my chair again, and that means we are getting in to the potatoes au gratin in this particular meat and potatoes segment of the meat and potatoes portion in this meat and potatoes show side. This is the co-main event of the evening. Half the reason this card is pay-per-view and not another fight night. Weili Zhang, the women's strawweight champion, against Joanna Jędrzejczyk, the former women's strawweight champion. This fight has, like we talked about earlier, this fight could have been such a different matchup from the gate. This could have been Rose Namajunas coming back to take her title in Las Vegas from the champion who had been arguably holding it until she returned. But because Rose decided to do Rose the way that she should have, we now have, unfortunately, the strawweight Holly Holm versus the current champion. For some fucking reason, every time Joanna sneezes and gets a decision in her favor, they're trying to throw her back to the fucking title shot. And I get it. Believe me, I fucking get it. I am Polish. I watched the inaugural 124 or the 115 belt go on. I watched Joanna take over and fucking run that division for a hot minute. But I have also watched Joanna Jędrzejczyk become everything you hate as a fan, on top of the even worst part, becoming stagnant as a fighter. We have seen time and time again, just in her last 5 fights alone as an example, despite being in a camp with a very competent coach in Mike Brown, Joanna Jędrzejczyk has not changed a single fucking thing about her training, about her fighting, about her style overall, about her fucking mentality. She still, as of this afternoon...
She know.
No. As of this afternoon, still, she refuses to call herself Joanna Jędrzejczyk. She's still, almost 2 years removed from any title contention, is calling herself the strawweight queen, the champion of the 115-pound division. And that kind of fucking delusion and narcissism, aside from everything else that's lacking in the training development, will lead you directly to the fucking bottom of any ranked fight list that there is. Because if you cannot understand that everyone in the fight game has flaws and you don't evolve to fix those flaws, you will get left behind. It has happened to every single one of the greats we have seen. If you don't adapt, you get overcome. The generations move past you. The fight game waits for no one. And Joanna Jędrzejczyk, despite how great she used to be, is stuck in the fucking mud like she's wearing concrete sandals. She has not changed a fucking thing since she was in that dominant title contention. And against what we were talking about earlier, the other half of the Chinese spear tip that is jamming its way into the UFC and putting Chinese MMA on the fucking map. Weili Zhang is one of the best representatives you could have asked for in that situation. She is a beautiful example of the new breed of MMA fighters, not just from China, but from around the world, who have grown up watching people like Joanna Jędrzejczyk be stuck in the mud and made a point to constantly adapt, to constantly evolve, to make their game never ending in the growth department. And that is what makes a dominant champion. Now, I will have to say this. There is a caveat to my spiel. I do believe that despite however this fight ends up, Rose is coming back for that belt, in my opinion. But that we'll talk about that in a couple more weeks when we get her back in here. For now, my money unequivocally, unflinchingly is 100% on Weili Zhang round 1 knockout. Period.
Cha-ching.
Yeah,
No,
I mean, Wiley James is a
honest.
fucking buzzsaw. So I have a hard time. I have a hard time disagreeing with you.
Joanna is so irrelevant. She stooped to the level, which I have dark humor. I thought it was funny. I sent you guys the meme of her in the biohazard suit, and that's just so distasteful at that level of professionalism in a say martial arts setting. It's just unacceptable. So like you were saying, fucking woo.
Especially when she
And-
talks about fucking Colby Covington being like, you know, like she always talks about how Colby Covington's a jerk for shit that he said, and then seeing that,
Yep.
that's weird.
Well, it's funny. It just makes me think about what Lumi was saying about Adesanya. And it's like the first thing that came to my mind was the Twin Towers comment, and it's just like, ooh, distasteful.
I think
I
the
don't
difference there.
dislike him for that.
See, I think the difference is that Adesanya was in the middle of rambling and spit it out and then realized it immediately and apologized for it, whereas Joanna not only keeps saying stupid shit like that, but stands behind her dumbass statements that she makes.
Yeah.
Because I agree, everybody fucks up once in a while, but especially in this situation where, I mean, we're talking about the Chinese fighter coming out of the Wushan province. She is literally from ground zero of what we're talking about with the coronavirus here.
Yeah.
And I agree 100%. I have a
rude as
very,
fuck.
very dark sense of humor that these guys can all fucking vouch for. And had anyone other than Joanna made that fucking meme about the coronavirus, I would have laughed my fucking ass off. But considering that's your opponent, that you're supposed to be going into a title fight for, showing that you are the champion, that you deserve to be the champion, that's fucking
irrelevancy.
kindergarten behavior.
That's irrelevancy. She has to put herself. She has to make some drama. You know, like
Yeah.
everybody knows we're about to watch. I hope it's not the first round. I hope we see Joanna get fucking the bricks beat out of her for 4 or 5 rounds. You know, I just because I don't like her, but I don't think that's gonna happen. I think she's gonna get.
I've been trying to find a place to play the heel tonight, and I can't. Not on this.
Wait, what?
There's no fucking way. Joanna had the worst thing here with Joanna, and this goes hand in hand with Big Daddy Dana, who I'm pretty sure she's sucking off at some point. Because let's see, 2 losses in a row to lose her title, try to get it back, lose it again. Win 1 against Tisha Torres. Get a fight Shevchenko. Lose.
She can never beat
Win
Shevchenko.
1 against the Karate Hottie.
A decision at that.
Decision. And where are we now? Right fucking here. Horse shit.
That was an ugly fight.
Who the
I remember
fuck?
watching that. That was an ugly fight.
I'm gonna say it right now. She must be pretty goddamn good at sucking dick, because she's taking a lot of loads to the throat right now to keep getting these title fights, which she is undeserving of.
Hey, she's got some good knee pads, bro.
I don't think she wears knee pads. That's the thing. She takes those scuff marks with pride, so that way she can get another one and call herself the queen. The only thing she's the queen
too
of
skinny
is
not to have knee pads.
this is why she's getting these shots though. It's because it's a no knee pad. She sucks it up, Buttercup. And by suck it up, I mean she means
enough to get a couple 100 miles down the road.
Oh no, she's not taking it in the mouth. She's letting them do it on the floor, and then she's snorting it with a straw. That's why she's so goddamn skinny.
This is golf
I got a
T.
story to tell you guys about that.
Anyhow,
This is golf T not being a heel.
no, this is me saying, fuck you, Anna. I loved what she did when she came into the sport. She was great. Fell off the horse and doesn't realize she fell off the horse. Apparently, all those strikes that she's taken to the head in the last fucking 6-7 fights now have really taken a fucking toll on her mentality because she can't figure out that she's still fucking wrong. And to be honest, this is going to sound really fucked up. And I'm going to apologize now, but I'm going to say it anyways. I'm hoping Wiley is the carrier and infects her while they're fighting and ends Joanna's fucking career so we don't have to watch another loss of a title fight, a win, and then get another title fight. And there's nothing against Wiley. I'm sick of this fucking nonsensical circus that we're seeing. I hope Wiley fucking breaks her fucking neck, ends her fucking career, calls it a day in round 1, because I'm sick of this fucking pony show that we're seeing. I'm sick of seeing the amount of dick that gets sucked so she can keep getting title fights. Put somebody else in there. She's ranked number 5 in this fucking division for a reason. She doesn't deserve the title fight. There's plenty of others out
1, 2,
there.
3, 4.
So tell us how you really feel, TJ.
All right, I'm good now. I'm just pretty pissed. Look, I'm all for you.
You know what grinds TJ's gears?
Former champ and all. Yeah. You know, I would do meter rants, but I don't do social media anymore. So I just say, fuck it. This is where I get my rants on. If you don't like it, shut the fuck up.
Hey, he's got rants on with no pants on. That's why he's at his desk.
We're good. And you're right, I'm not wearing pants. I'd show you some leg, but you guys might get a bit jealous there.
We wouldn't see nothing but hair.
How do you
Just
know?
be I can look at your neck. No, I'm just kidding. No, you trim your neck. Actually,
Sounds like somebody's a secret fan of the OnlyFans.
No, it's more of the I can't grow a real beard, and he has man beard. You know what I'm saying? Like me and Meter grow like the long string.
Beard envy.
I don't have.
Hey! You leave my neck beard out of this, okay? I keep it as
I'm
good as I
just
can.
I'm just saying that green is an ugly color on you right now. You might want to get rid of it. And I'm not talking to Meter. I'm talking about that green with Envy Pike over there.
I was gonna say we talked about this before the show.
Punchy, kicky punchy. There we go. Get back to the kicky punchy.
Okay, I will. So yeah, I see. So
Man beard.
Ellie
that's why.
Zhang she's a beast, man. She's I like that she's fighting Joanna because she also needs to fight somebody with a big name so that people could recognize her more. And she she's like what we were talking about last week. She's super aggressive, and I think she's on a level of aggressiveness that a lot of the females are not. And Joanna's even aggressive, but I think Welly is a bit more aggressive. And
Well, she's about to get the exposure she needs because when she won that title, it was like 8:00 in the morning here in America.
mm-hmm.
Or it might have been earlier than that because that card started what was it, Meter, like at 2 a.m?
I think this would even be a
prelims were 2
bigger.
a.m.
Yeah, I think this is even a bigger win than even that though, because Andrade was only the champ for that one fight, and it was a surprise to a lot of people. Now we see her as champ, and she's going to beat Joanna, who apparently is still the champ and the queen.
Well, that and for the MMA math casuals, Joanna beat the dog shit out of Jessica Andrade, and then Wiley Zhang beat the dog shit out of Jessica Andrade. So, I mean, as far as title math goes,
shit of Rose Namajunas.
I
And
mean,
then Rose
she fought her.
Namajunas beat the shit of Mike Perry.
Yeah.
I seen it.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
TJ, Mike Perry got beat up in this scenario. You should be happy.
Look, I'm always happy when that fucker gets his face shut. I'm just sick of hearing his name because he's irrelevant.
You done?
No, the only thing that I could say, and like I say it all the time, and I'm gonna keep saying it. I'm sorry, but as much as I don't like people, I like to make a point to give them credit where credit is due. And the opposite side of that is that to be a truly as close to unbiased as I can, I have to work that coin to the other side as well. I have to talk about the negative in the people that I do like. And one of the negatives that we learned this week, both through the UFC Embedded series, through her social media itself, and through the Road to the UFC 248 Octagon show that they put on, we got a real, I guess, in-depth glimpse would be the best word, at what the inner workings of Weili Zhang's camp really look like, since she's been in Vegas doing her training camp at the PI for the last month and a half or so. And one thing that I noticed, I don't know if anybody else caught it, but I noticed it for sure, and it really creeped me the fuck out, is that when you listen to Weili Zhang's coach talk, he is, for the credit that he does deserve for creating the monster that is Weili Zhang, there's something to be said about the level of personal representation he feels from her, and the level of credit that he wants for her. It's a very weird thing. It's almost like a reverse Israel Adesanya, in that every time Israel Adesanya wins, he makes a point to talk about how he is this because of his coach. The coach is almost doing the opposite here. It's almost every time we've seen Wiley's coach, he talks about how she is because of him, because of what he did. Like, he wants all the credit for her fights. He's responsible for her quitting her job and training full time. He's the one that put up the money to make sure that she could train and not have to worry about work. He's the one who got her style to where it is. And it all just feels a little bit scummy, a little creepy to hear a fucking coach talk like that to me. I don't know. I don't think it's going to affect Wiley much, but I think going forward it may create controversy in that camp. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But that being said, that brings us to the Salt Bay finished 39-ounce tomahawk steak that is our main event of the evening. The namesake, the placard, the marquee banner. Israel, the last stylebender, Adesanya, versus Yoel, the soldier of God, Romero. This is one of the most unique, not only main events, but more importantly, most unique title defenses we may have seen in recent years that I can think of. This is quite literally a situation, despite the record, throw all the numbers out the fucking window. Just look at performance alone. Yoel Romero, in his last 5 fights, has dished out more punishment while absorbing as much punishment as anyone in the UFC. And he's doing this at almost 43 years old. He is quite literally up this weekend to be the oldest title holder in UFC history if he wins.
I want the water from Cuba.
He is 100% unequivocally the fighter that no one wants to call out. And that is exactly why Israel Adesanya made a point to call him out first. He went out of his way to say, regardless of who deserves, air quotes, the next title shot, he wants to set his legacy in stone by calling out the guy that no one wants to fight first. Despite the fact that Yoel has already had multiple shots at the title and arguably won some of those, he has yet to come up victorious. But Yoel Romero has been in the title picture more than most people who held the belt in this division in recent years. Israel Adesanya chose that fucking Olympic medal holding monster as his first title defense, because this is what he wants his legacy to be. It's not about winning the belt. It's not about being the champion. It's about what you do as the champion. And to start his legacy, he wants to cement himself by not only calling out, but by defeating the man that no one wants to fight. The man who has gone more times with his predecessor, Robert Whittaker, than anyone else in the UFC and couldn't officially get the job done. Adesanya came in and made a point to remind Yoel Romero, you had 10 rounds with Whittaker. I did it in 2. And I think that's the exact mentality that's going to carry Israel Adesanya through this match. He is too dangerous on his feet. He is too dangerous on the ground. The place where Yoel Romero has the advantage is in that phone booth and in the wrestling. Yoel Romero can cross the octagon faster than almost anyone in the game in any division. And when he does it, he brings a fucking battleship worth of power in that fucking fist of his. And if he gets a hold of you, we have seen more than enough footage at this time to know Yoel Romero can and will grab anyone on this fucking planet and throw you like you're hollow. But that only works if you can get your hands on someone, if you can get inside that phone booth to impose that crazy Cuban will. And that's where I think he's going to run into a problem. Because not only is Stylebender a long fighter, he uses that length to set up the up-close shots that you don't expect because you think he's going to stay at range. And then he gets unorthodox because he's figured out your timing. And he gets crazy and he gets loose and he throws shots that you don't think anyone is going to throw from an angle that no one has ever thrown them before. This is why the last Stylebender is so fucking great. You can't train for this man. He has so many tools, and those tools are so widely ranged that he can pull anything at any point and hit you with it, and you not only don't see it coming, you don't know how to react and prepare to keep defending from it. This is exactly what we saw in that 5th round against Kelvin Gastelum. This is what we saw in the 2nd round against Robert Whittaker. Just when you think you have it figured out, when you think you're safe, he shows you how not safe you are. And like he said, all he has to do is get you to ask for a way out. And he's won. And I absolutely believe we're going to see that again. We saw Adesanya put the Anderson Silva on Anderson Silva. I think we're going to see a spectacular performance. I don't think we see 3 rounds in this fight. I know that Israel said he wants to wear him deep. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think Yoel's going to come in, he's going to put his foot on the gas, and Adesanya's going to be clever, but he's going to be quick, and I think it's going to be a fucking hard night for Yoel Romero, because I think he wakes up looking at the man that he's always calling for, Gay Jesus.
Yeah, I think, this fight has a lot of people pulling for Yoel Romero just to see if he can finally get it done. Like, the dude's been around. He's been in so many fights, so many title fights,
in very little time. Like what, 4 years?
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, Meter pointed it out. This is the dude nobody wants to fight. Nobody wants to fight this dude because you may beat him, but you are going to take a shit ton of damage.
Well, Whittaker even said he didn't want to fight him again after the first one.
Yeah,
he's like, I don't want to do it again, but I got to. Like,
it's too bad he's coming back. But yeah, it's like either way this fight goes down. Like Adesanya, he's going to be around. He's the future of this weight class, and it's going to take someone super gifted to take him down and keep him out of the picture. Even if Yoel Romero wins this, like, guess who's going to be knocking on the door again? Like it doesn't matter. Like, he's going to be around. He's going to hold that belt for quite a while, I believe.
Like Meter was saying, he's good on the ground. Yoel, I guarantee Yoel lands at least 2 takedowns.
Oh,
it might not be real clean, but I guarantee he gets at least 2 takedowns officially.
I believe it. And then he's gonna Ryan work him on the ground. He's gonna find out what those fucking tarantula limbs are all about.
I don't think he's even gonna try a takedown.
You think he's just gonna go? He's just gonna go full soldier of God mode.
It's always something somebody thinks is like Yoel's gonna out wrestle all these guys, and he never does it. Never does it.
No, that's not my point. Is it's so instinctual for somebody who's wrestled that long that it's just second nature. That if that you see that opening, you don't think your body muscle memory, whether he goes say Greco-Roman and goes from underhooks and like a leg trip, or if he goes for like a double leg or a single, like he's gonna go for a takedown if he sees it open.
Well,
Regardless,
I think
Paulo
to a lesser
Costa would have been the perfect guy to do that, and he didn't
right.
do it to Paulo Costa.
Right, I agree. I think to a certain degree, you're 100% right, and I think to a certain degree, it's very reflective of what we talk about in Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje was one of the top of the stack in U.S. wrestlers, and still has some of the best wrestling in MMA, in my opinion. But he has rarely ever, if ever, used it since he's been in the UFC. It's kind of the opposite of the Yoel Romero. We see Yoel trying to wrestle people all the time. The Whitaker fights are a great example. But then you get him against, like you were saying, against Apollo Costa, where it would have been a great example to dominate with the wrestling, and he just doesn't use it. And I think there is a real good chance here that we might see exactly that in the Izzy fight as well. I think Yoel might come out and want to make a point that everyone expects him to wrestle, and he might come out trying to strike just for that reason.
Yeah, no, I can dig that 100%.
Yeah, and this could be one of those cases where we've seen it in the past where the fighter just sits there and he gauges things for 1 or 2 rounds, and then the fun starts, and you're like, oh Jesus, here we go.
Well,
so
yeah,
if it goes past the second round, I'm gonna say Yoel Romero doesn't have a shot unless he gets that fighter shot in. If it goes past the second round, because Israel will have him figured out.
Yeah,
and that'll be game over. The second he gets figured out, he just starts working those long ass limbs of his, and next thing you know, you're looking up at the lights. So, yeah, if it's inside the second, Yoel's got a shot. If it's outside the second, I just don't see it without that surprise pop.
Like, for whatever reason, my mind, we're talking about the takedowns and stuff. It goes back to Chad Mendez McGregor. Right? People were like, can he defend the takedown? Can he get back up? Can he do this? Can he do that? He got taken down. He took some shots. He took some unnecessary shots, but that was his plan because he knew Mendez didn't have that gas tank. That is not so much the case with Romero.
No, Romero's got he's got a gas tank for sure.
Yeah, he's a fucking to be that age and to still be in better shape than some 20-year-old men, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's why it's like listening to the casual corner, and it's like just based on numbers and stats, and she's like, oh, he's old or he's been losing, and it's still like in my mind, I was like, that's Yoel Romero.
Yeah. Like
I would say
nobody wins when Yoel Romero loses. Yeah. Nobody wins.
Motherfucker,
no,
I
you're
did
right.
not say he was old. Get your fucking words right.
How about no? Since you're gonna talk to me like that, I'm not your husband. I'm not your boyfriend. You can't fucking make me do shit.
I'll put you both in a corner.
To duke it out later. Jesus. Oh. Speaking of Jesus, here we are, the soldier of fucking God.
Soldier of Gad.
Oh boy. That dude, he's starting to remind me of Randy Couture, where he just doesn't seem to get older.
Yeah.
Where I'm going, he could possibly fight into his 50s as long as things continue to go at least halfway decent.
Right. That's actually what he said on yesterday's Embedded. That's his goal. That's what Yoel Romero through his translator, or through a non-UFC translator rather. So we got the real interpretation. That's Yoel's goal, is to fight longer than Bernard Hopkins did.
Look at it this way. Look how long it took him to get into the UFC and how short of a time he's actually been fighting for. He doesn't have a whole lot of road mileage on him. Unlike some of these fighters out there that have a fuck ton that are in this same weight class. And to make my favorite thing about this fight is Adesanya called out the one guy that nobody wants to call out. Yeah. And he made a point to say that, as well as he said, not like that pussy Darren Till who keeps ducking him, which was fucking fantastic.
That was a beautiful moment.
And I do have to tip my hat to Adesanya for giving away some tickets to a fan during the open workouts, which was fucking cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that was very cool.
I was like, that was a pretty fucking cool move by him. But I'm not talking about what he does outside of the ring, or I'm talking about what they do inside. To be honest, I think people are way underestimating Yoel Romero in this fight. I really do. And I'm not going to play the heel here and say that he's going to win because I don't think that he is. But I really don't think they're giving him enough credit for this, albeit coming off a loss because he had a poor game plan against somebody he should have beaten if he had the right game plan. But that's neither here nor there. Adesanya wants to make a statement saying, hey, I'm going to take out the one guy nobody wants to call out. They just have to fight him because eventually you have to fight Yoel to get to the title. That's just how that works at this point because he's that fucking guy. But I really think Yoel's got a way better chance than everybody gives him credit for. Because he's not the same fighter that Adesanya beat in Whitaker. Whitaker had a game plan that worked for Yoel. He had a game plan that he thought worked for Adesanya, but that was obviously not the case. Now, we can't do MMA math here and say because he beat fucking Whitaker handily, but Yoel went 5 rounds with Whitaker. I would like to use some MMA math there and say, well, he went 5 rounds with Whitaker, but he didn't win, so he's obviously going to get crushed, but I really don't think he's going to get crushed. To be honest, I think this fight goes into deep waters, and I think it's going to be who can tread the longest there. I'm saying the one thing everybody forgets about, Yoel Romero's got a hell of a flying knee.
Chris Weidman didn't forget.
Yeah, that's right. Chris Weidman ain't forgot that one, I'm sure.
He might have.
That was part of Chris Weidman's diminishing returns with his chin because of that.
Yep, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, that was brutal, too. He was doing really well in that fight until that moment.
Yeah, and so, I mean, there's a few little things that Yoel's got some tricks up his sleeve that people forget about, and if Izzy's not careful, he could get caught. And if by some odd freak of chance nature, Yoel decides he's going to wrestle and actually gets hands on him, it'll be interesting to see if he can keep Izzy down or not. We haven't seen Israel on his back
Ever.
Oh. At the point. At least not for any surmountable amount of time to see what he can do.
If you go watch some of the older footage when like his up and coming stuff, yeah, but that's because this guy was still learning mixed martial.
Right.
Like he jumped into professional fighting still like at a extreme kickboxing level.
you go back 10 years on his record and you're not gonna see him fucking doing anything related to what he's doing
talking
now.
like 6 years ago.
Oh yeah, it doesn't even have to be that far back. You're right, but to be honest, I don't think for a second that Israel is overlooking Yoel because he called him out for a reason, and albeit watching some of the embedded series that I've seen with him, I think there's a small part of Israel that is scared, just like everyone else. Absolutely. He might not say it but there's some of the clips that I've seen of him where you can tell just by the body language and the things he's doing, he's nervous.
Yeah.
Granted, anybody's nervous going into a fight, and if you're not, you're fucking stupid.
That's what I was going to say, and that's one of those things that we say time and time again, and that you hear from good fighters, is that you're supposed to be nervous before a fight, whether you're confident or not. You're supposed to be nervous because it's a fucking fight.
Yep. You're not going in there to play patty cake.
Yeah.
But, to be honest, I think this one ends up going into deep waters, and I don't know that we'll get a finish. This could be another candidate for fight of the night for me. I really think that we could see something along the lines of the Adesanya Kelvin Gastelum fight out of this. I really do.
Interesting.
I think this could be fight of the year.
It
has
very
potential. It has potential for fight of the year.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I was exactly thinking that, and I don't think so. Israel might have. He might regret this one because I think even if he wins, he's gonna take a lot of fucking damage. And I promise I love Israel Adesanya. He's definitely one of my favorites. And
finally something smart you said today.
Yeah, if Israel wins, he's gonna be champion for a while. I think if Romero wins, it doesn't go the same way. and it's almost a waste. I think Israel just comes back anyway. But I promised myself if everybody says Israel, I would stand up for Romero by saying I don't think he's lost his last two losses. I don't think he's lost since the first Robert Whitaker fight, in my opinion. I think
agree.
he won the second one, and I think he beat Paul Acosta 2 rounds to 1.
I agree
And
completely.
I don't really agree with them decisions. I think that his record could very much say that he's won his last 4 or 5 fights, whatever. So I think if he makes weight on this, he has a problem with making weight.
And he
He
looks rough
always
today.
does look. Yeah, he looked rough, and that's another thing. Israel Adesanya, when everything's going good, that's not a good sign. So when somebody gets staph or somebody gets their leg tweaked in gyms, I think that's actually a good thing, because whenever anybody says, "Oh, camp's going great, I feel great, I'm eating great," you usually lose that fight. It just seems to be what happens. But if you have some adversity, you usually get better luck in the fight. But I think they both have that adversity, because I think Yoel is always dealing with that with the weight cuts and everything, and now Israel with the staph infection. But is Yoel Romero, it's like they say, if you hang out in the barbershop long enough, you're going to get a haircut. If he keeps going into these title fights and getting these close fights, one of these fights, them judges are going to say Yoel won. And it just seems all of his fights, he just doesn't do just enough to just get, it's always so fucking close. So close. And I don't think Israel's going to be able to stop him. I don't think he's going to be able to knock him out. I don't think it's going to be a quick fight. I think Yoel is not easy to put away. And I think that, man, I would say Israel could definitely outpoint him, but I think Yoel, I mean, he might be looking at this like, this may be one of my last title shots, at least in this weight division. If this doesn't go well, who knows? So, I mean, because he could fight at 50 in Bellator too. So
Yeah.
It doesn't mean he has to be in the UFC.
Very true. Very true. That's absolutely a possibility as well, because if for some reason he loses this and the UFC says, "Yo, that's 4 in a row. Here's your fucking walking papers." Realistically speaking, Yoel Romero could walk in and take over the Bellator 185 division. Not that it would be easy.
Gegard Mousasi better
That's what I'm
put his
saying. Not that
fucking
it would
work
be
boots
easy,
on.
because Gegard is a bad motherfucker. But I think Yoel could come in and just fucking sweep that division under his fucking waist. I completely agree.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous prospect either way it goes here. It really is.
Yeah. Lima, hold Yoel's beer.
Right? No shit. No shit.
Yeah, it's I forget what I was gonna say about that, but yeah, Yoel's it's very impressive what he does. It just at his age, it's very, very impressive, and I don't know. Sometimes I even question if he's even that old.
It's true. It's true. And like Joey Diaz says, he's Cuban. You don't really know, dog. He could be 53 already.
He might be 18. Fucking cocksucker.
Cocksuckers. You never know about them Cubans. Oh, I agree completely. But that being said, that's all we've got for this particular episode. So before we take it around and wrap this thing up, I do want to take just a moment to say, if you enjoyed what we do here, I would ask that we give us a thumbs up. If we made some good points for you, maybe subscribe. We do this every week pretty much. If we really gave you some point of views that you didn't have, if we brought some facts to you that you can genuinely appreciate, share an episode of the show. We're trying to grow this damn thing. On the other side of that, though, if we're just a couple of dipshits with diarrhea of the mouth who don't know what the fuck we're actually talking about, give us a thumbs down. We earned it, and we won't dispute it. But, that being said, if for some reason folks need to know the best place in St. Louis to catch the bum fights, how are they going to be able to get a hold of you after the show, Alan?
Let's see. My Instagram is the Iknella, EKIPNELLA. Other than that, I say social free. You know what I mean? But, as always, it's a pleasure, my man. I hope to be back next week. It all depends on the family life. But I will have that spreadsheet made up for you tomorrow.
Awesome. Thank you. Always appreciate your time, sir. And
Yes, sir.
now, if for some reason folks just can't figure out where to get the coffee that's going to take them from the 9 to the 10, but they need to get to work in the morning and just be ready to go, how can they find Ned Devine's Coffee Hut?
You could just follow me on Instagram. I'm doing like singing stuff over there and everything. And you can find me on YouTube. And hopefully someday you'll see me on American Idol the way I'm going. Or maybe co-hosting a song with Adam Pilarczyk. Who knows?
You gotta
Hey,
lose some teeth
stranger
and
things have happened.
pick up garbage.
And Divine 83, thank you for having me. It was fun. Can't wait to see the fights. And thanks everybody for watching, listening. Anybody that came and watched live, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time, sir.
You
And
got
then,
my golden ticket already, Nick.
there you
You're
go.
going to Hollywood, brother.
Golden buzzer.
Right.
So, if for some reason folks just aren't quite as educated as they should be about all things DIY and punchy kicky up in that PMW, how can we send them to the source for all good things, Fresh03?
You can find me on youtube.com/fresh03. I do mixing shows Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday. I'm on live shows pretty much every night of the week. So if you're looking for me, I will be around somewhere most likely, except for in 2 weeks. Then I'll be in Iceland. And then if you find me over there, come on up. Hugs are open. Open time for hugs. Come on. But I believe we're doing a show tomorrow. We're gonna be doing some tasty mixing. And then Pacific Northwest MMA is pretty meh. But you can always find the fights at the Emerald Queen.
There you go. There you go. Well, thank you very much for your time, sir. Much appreciated. Always glad to have you on board.
Pleasure.
And now, I don't know if it's really possible, but at this point in the game, if somebody just has to be reminded where the best place to get cheese curds and education on MMA up in the Green Bay area is, how are they going to get golf teed?
And find me on the YouTubes every Wednesday night right here, Golf T Vapes, 9:30 Central Time. Same time we start this show, except for a day early. Also on the Instagrams, I don't post on there, but if you shoot me a message, I will reply. It's going to be an exciting weekend, and glad to see this shit come to a head finally.
Hell yeah. Thank you very much for your time. Always appreciated, sir. So, always a good time here on the I'm No Joe podcast. If you did not get enough from this particular episode, pretty much every Sunday after we do an I'm No Joe podcast here, you can catch me live once again, 9:30, same start time on Sundays, giving you the What Did I Say show, the recap, where I go over all the things that actually happened and kind of hold us accountable for some of the shit talking and the predictions that we made here. But that is really all that we have got for this particular episode here. So I'm going to let you fine folks go, and remember, don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything, unless by this point you really think that Epstein killed himself. And if that's the case, all I can say is
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening. How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times.